Hi, guys. Yeah. Welcome to Let's Talk About It. This is the late night segment of our all-day live stream. We will do these once a month. We do them on the last Saturday of every month. And coming out soon, there will be a Lex Talk About It podcast where I interview different people over different topics that we have shared interests in, and it'll be really fucking cool. Tonight's topic is polyamory. I am starting out with my guest, Nicole. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Nicole. That's all I got.
Nicole, what are your pronouns? What is
okay.
Yeah, like how you identify sexually and all of that. Like let us know.
Okay, so I go by she, her. Although I like to consider myself very gender non-conforming, but like I'm fine with she, her pronouns because I am more femme, although that's debatable.
You're sporty femme for sure.
Oh yeah, I'm sporty femme. I love it. I'm creating a whole new genre, jock femme. My sexual orientation, I guess is, I'm gonna say it's pansexual because I felt like after our talk last time, I think that pansexual definitely is a broader spectrum, and that's like what I'm about. I paint broad strokes.
That's valid. Like if that is like I will reiterate for those that weren't in the stream last time we talked about this. A label only has meaning if it means something to you, and what you resonate with and how you identify is the most important thing, especially when it comes to non-monosexuality. And what I mean when I say non-monosexuality is sexuality that is characterized by attraction to more than one gender. There are a couple of different identifiers for that, but there's a lot of overlap within that. So it's really just about how you feel about it.
It's a Venn diagram with a lot of crossover.
100%. I also am graced by the presence of my very good friend, my sister, Emily Gutowski.
Hello. Hi.
Hi.
My name is Emily Gutowski. I use the pronoun she, her. I'm very pretty today. Thank you for noticing and telling me.
Love you, girl. Oh my God. Iconic.
No, I got this top in my Stitch Fix box and I really wanted to wear it. So that's really what I'm doing. Because we can't go anywhere because it's a pandemic. It's also my vaccination top. Hello. I'm ready. The state of Arizona. I am ready. Anyway, so that's pretty much me. That's my sexual orientation is I'm ready to get vaccinated. And I'm very bisexual.
Listen, we are all sluts for vaccines here. All right.
Yes.
That's a different kind of Fauci ouchie. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, yeah, that's it. That's really where I'm at. I'm very bisexual. I'm missing the nose ring. I will fix that hopefully after quarantine. And
are we going for septum or nostril?
Nostril. I can't do septum. It freaks me out. I'm also like ADHD. It freaks me out, but I do want
are we going
ring.
stud or ring though? Stud or ring?
Stud. I've wanted it forever. I was stud first. Girl. No, listen.
I mean, you have to have a stud first. Like that's required.
Stud first because I have a toddler with long hair, and he will rub his face on my face and get it caught all up in that ring and rip it the fuck out. I also have ADHD and I have a weird thing about things on my body. So I have to like get myself used to it. Once he won't snatch it from my face, yes, definitely ring.
100%.
Anyway, so that's my other sexual orientation. And that's it. I don't think I have anything else to plug. I guess we're Nicole and I are both on Legends of Lanamora podcast. We also do a segment called Dilly and Dally, which is why we will derail everything that Lex is doing. So I don't know why they keep having us on here.
Honestly,
Because I feed on the chaos that we create together. I love it.
That's why
Crave
you are
mischief.
Scarlet Witch. Like we discussed this earlier. Like it's fair.
Okay, so I'm only Scarlet Witch if we're talking specifically about
We don't have time for
the
this.
Avengers. But otherwise, I'm
I've
Billy
seen your
Catwoman.
TikTok.
Oh yeah, I just followed you on TikTok, and I was like, I need to watch all of these Scarlet WandaVision.
Oh yeah! Oh my God! There's
because I'm
Everyone
just as into it
should,
as you
but
are.
we don't have time for it. We have
Right,
less than 2
100%.
hours because I was late.
So jumping in, let's just go ahead and talk about polyamory. I do not want to say define because there isn't necessarily one definition. There are lots of different types of non-monogamy. You have people who do an open relationship. You have people who term themselves as monogamish.
I love that one, by the way.
Huh?
I love that one, monogamish. It's very cute. It's just like a cutesy way. It's just, I don't know, to be like, we sleep with other people sometimes.
Yeah,
like, it's just cute though.
Monogamish is really cute. I also like to say that relationships like that, or relationships that are open on a case-by-case basis, are selectively permeable. Because I'm a fucking nerd.
It's very good. It's very good. It's very like, I'm drunk and I only kiss girls in the bar when I'm drunk. Like, it's very like, I don't know. It's fluid. I like it.
We don't like when girls do that. Just that feels so, yeah. When people are like that, and women do this, some men do this, it's typically seen more in cis women, and specifically because society okays the exploration of women more than it okays the exploration of men.
Absolutely.
But a lot of times you see straight girls getting drunk and making out with girls.
Especially if it's on spectacle for the guys that they're with or trying to get with. It's...
Exactly. And that's a problem for a couple of reasons. I will say, like, I am 100% pro experimentation, but I'm all about responsible experimentation. And
it's experimentation versus exploitation, I think.
Exactly that. If you are drunk in a bar and are flirting with a random, queer woman and making out with a random queer woman, but you're straight, and she doesn't know that, like, that's not cute. That's not a good moment for anybody. But anyway, there's a lot of different ways to be non-monogamous, but the only way to do it that is okay is doing it ethically. And what that means is everyone is aware of what's happening. You have terms that the two of you have set and agreed to, and those, you can have as many or as few terms as you want. I am not super into a lot of rules, because for me, I term myself as polyamorous, which for me means not only do I prefer, but I a lot of the times need multiple partners in order to feel fulfilled. And that's not coming from a sexual place, because what I want to impart on everybody is that largely for the non-monogamous community, it is not purely about sex. For so many people, it is about so much more than sex. For me, it's about emotional and social fulfillment. I am somebody who is deeply traumatized and non-neurotypical. So there's a lot of things about me that not any one person could handle. I have a lot of strange triggers. I have a lot of weird brain stuff that happens. And it's just, it's hard for any one person to deal with all of that. And it would be selfish of me to expect any one person to fulfill all of that and be aware of all of that, because everybody has their own shit. And sometimes people can't, fulfill certain needs for, their own personal reasons. And some people just aren't comfortable with it. And that's perfectly fine. And that's the purpose of polyamory, is that, you give me these things that I need, and like that partner gives me those things that I need, and so on and so forth. So like I term myself as polyamorous. There are people who would term themselves as monogamish. I've seen a couple of different people fall into this. There are couples that call themselves monogamish because every now and then they invite somebody else for a threesome. I have seen couples call themselves monogamish because one of them is a sex worker. And so outside of work, they only sleep with their partner. But because they're a sex worker, they do porn or, any other kind of work like that. They have to sleep with other people. It's part of their job. And so that's why they term themselves monogamish. There's open relationships, and I won't say all, but in my personal in my personal experience, a lot of the people who term themselves as open term themselves as such because they have extracurricular activities with other people, but they are only in a relationship. They are only in a commitment with one person. There are closed triads, which is where there are 3 people in the relationship, and it's only those 3 people. They do not engage in anything with anyone outside of that triad. There are open triads, which, falls in the same thing as I was describing earlier with an open relationship. The people in that triad are the relationship, but you are able to do extracurriculars with people outside of that triad. And then you have, people who term themselves polyamorous. And a lot of the times you'll have a constellation. It's called a constellation because not everyone inside of that is necessarily connected to one another, but you are connected through other partners. So like one of my partner, I am currently in a constellation. One of my partners has another partner who has a spouse. And so I am connected to those 2. They are my metamors because they are the paramours of my partner, but they are not my paramours. So we are a constellation in that all of us are connected, but we aren't all directly connected.
I love all of these terms.
That's pretty. I like constellation.
I know.
That's
I love
a
that.
good one.
Yeah, the constellation is great. You'll also hear people talk about a hinge. A hinge is where 2 partners are connected by one other partner. So like this could be a triad situation. This could be a full-on constellation. But basically you have partner. They are with this person. They are also with this person, but those 2 aren't together. It's a hinge. Those 2 don't meet like that. But yeah, there's also what people call breakfast table polyamory, which is basically where everybody is friends. Everybody can sit at the breakfast table and have a good time together. So those are just some quick definitions off the top of my head. I am probably the one that is the deepest in polyamory of the 3 of us. Mm-hmm. We will have another guest on later, Jo, and I will let her tell you about herself when she is able to join us. But Emily also has some experience with polyamory, so I will let her tell us about that.
I have the tea.
Yes, give us the goss.
I have, so my experience with polyamory is generally, thank you, nice mug. This is product placement. You can get this at novistudio.io in our shop. It says Legends of Lanamora on the other side. But anyway, so my experience, so when I had a very bad heartbreak, very sad. Let's all be sad for like a second. Then I slept with a lot of people. So what happened was I wanted to experience, like, I had only been with one person and I was like, I want to see what's out there. So I did. And what that led me to eventually was someone I worked with was in a polyamorous relationship. And I was like, what the fuck is that? Like, tell me more right now. Say more. And she was getting married. And I was like, and so like, I was like, we have to go to lunch. So like we did. And like, I was like, tell me more. And she basically explained, she was like, yeah, I'm getting married to somebody, but like we're polyamorous. Like we see other people. Like I have a boyfriend and I have a girlfriend and he has a girlfriend and we both like have another girlfriend together. And I was like, what? Like, it was amazing. I was like, this sounds fantastic. I will, like, yes. And eventually we started hanging out and we went to go see shows together. And then I started seeing her, and which was great. And then I needed my curtains hung up and I was like, okay. No, I had gone over to their place and I had met her husband. And he was super great. We hung out. And then I went home and then the next day I needed help hanging my curtains up. And she asked if her and her husband could come over and help me hang my curtains. And I was like,
I was going to say, is that leading to a euphemism? Because it's got to be like.
And I was like, yeah. And like, we had kind of like, we didn't explicitly say it before, but like we talked about it. That's why I went over to meet her husband to see like if we all kind of jive together. And that was great. And then I ended up dating both of them for a long time. And it was awesome. It was awesome. It was great. It was awesome. I didn't have to like any of the responsibility, but I was just like, I got to be like part of it. It's like I was part of the family, but I didn't actually have to like, my name wasn't on the marriage certificate. And that's exactly where I wanted to be.
Like, wait, now, yes. So I have a question. What was it? And that would be considered an open triad because they were also.
No, what I would call that is full on polyamorous because they had partners outside of Emily.
Gotcha. Yes. That was what I was asking. So like, and were you seeing both of them at the same time or did you see them separately or was it like?
I started seeing her first and then she asked if I wanted to meet her husband and I was like, yeah. And then I hung out like totally platonic. We hung out. We went to a play. We went to Shakespeare play. And it was good. And I made out with her in the car. It was great. And then like that's when I asked like her to come over and she asked if she could bring him. And I was like, okay. But then after that, we talked and they were like, hey, like, are you cool with it? Like we had like a whole breakdown, like a whole breakdown of like, hey, are you cool with this? Like these, like we're seeing this many other people, like just for STD reasons. They literally, before we like started, it was like a whole, like, hey, I have a clean, like bill of health, which was nice, as you should. And I was like, cool, great. And then we had like a whole breakdown conversation of like how this was going to go. Like they are married and I understand they live in a house together and stuff. And so like, obviously I'm not moving in with them. So like how it worked was I dated both of them. I would see her, sometimes just her, because I just felt like I wanted I wanted a Sarah vibe. Her name wasn't Sarah. I'm just using Sarah. I wanted a Sarah vibe that night. And then, sometimes I more felt like I needed a Ben vibe that night. God, it took me a long time. I was like, oh, men's names. I'm really drawn to blank. I felt like I needed a Ben vibe that night. And then sometimes like they were hanging out together and they'd invite me along. That's usually as like for like half of our dates were like they were doing something they knew I would like fuck with. They were like, oh, hell yeah, we got to invite Emily. Like, and then I would go along. Like it was more like we were just really close friend group. It's hard to describe. Like it was nice. It was something I had never experienced before in my like limited scope of like,
in your limited romantic history.
Yeah. So I was like just kind of experiencing this for the first time, but it was nice. It was so nice. I'm still very thankful to them for letting me experience that in such a healthy way. Because it was nice. Sometimes I just go over and we would just snuggle on the couch and like watch movies. Like it was great. And that's probably my healthiest relationship before Nathan.
Yeah,
100%. They were the sweetest couple. And then I ended up like moving on to other stuff. And we honestly, it wasn't like a breakup. It was just kind of like we slowly stopped hanging out. It was more like that kind of thing. And it was sad.
It was dissolved.
Yeah. And it was sad. But it was fine. And I saw them at Lex, that's who I saw on the street of Dragon Con. We were running on the street of Dragon Con. I was dressed as
Nightwing After Dark.
Nightwing After Dark.
You had so
is that when you skinned your knee? Like,
yes,
that's a fun story. Basically what happened, like we had spent that day like going around the vendors hall, and we found like a corset vendor, and the vendor assumed that I was her partner. And it was really funny because she kept saying things like to me about like, oh, when you do this and when you lace her in and blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, okay. Like I was just letting her do it. I was letting her make those assumptions, which is like cute or whatever, because I'm very obviously femme. So like, it's like half problematic, half very progressive. Like it's weird.
I have masculine energy.
Right, exactly. And like of the two of us, you're definitely the more mask one.
Maybe she just thought you had bi-wife energy.
Can you imagine if Emily and I were in the same room together, the amount of BDE there would be? Like, I can't.
But yeah, it was so funny because she just like made this assumption that like Emily and I were romantic partners, and we allowed it to happen. And you ended up buying like a Harlequin patterned black and blue corset that you wore for your Nightwing After Dark cosplay that I did lace you into.
Yes. And then you actually did. Yeah. Later lace me into.
And then we started, we ordered a pizza, and motherfucker kept leaving the hotel, and we were chasing a pizza around the hotel and ran.
Very drunk. So drunk. Just so drunk.
You were drunker than I was.
I was so... we got the pizza, finally got back to the room. I fell asleep. I didn't even eat the pizza. I woke up like 2 hours later.
No, you did. You had like 2 pieces of the pizza.
I remember none of that. But anyway.
Because that's why you split your knee open, because you like baseball slid into the bathroom and slit your knee open because you needed to, after you had been drinking and eating pizza. But yeah, so like we met them, and you like had a cute little exchange with Sarah.
I saw it. I was like, hi, Sarah.
And I don't even think it was Ben, because it was her boyfriend. It wasn't Ben.
Yeah, no, this was another person. This is Sam. Yeah, this was like Sam. And I had seen pictures of Sam, but never like met him at all. So I was just like, hey, and like we hugged, and I was like, this is my girlfriend. Like, weird. Oh my God. Like, but it wasn't like bad feelings. I was just excited to see her. Like, that's what's cool to me about polyamory, is that it can come in and out like that in a lot of cases. And it's not a lot of hurt feelings. It's good feelings. It's a lot of, like I said before, polyamory seems to me, the people who participate in it seems to come from an overabundance of love rather than lacking anything. So like Sarah has just so much love to give, like not just sexually or romantically, but like just love, like friend love. She just loves everybody. And so like seeing her happy makes me happy. And so I don't know, it's just a very wholesome like community to be a part of. And I very much enjoyed my time in that. I don't like, would be fine going back to that. I don't think Nathan is polyamorous, but like that I'm okay doing both. Like, it's not something that I miss, but it was like, I very much enjoyed my time in that city.
Yeah. And the feeling that you're talking about is, it has a name. It's called compersion. It's when you feel happiness from seeing your partner happy. That's the goal, right? Is to reach that level, is to, you know, because one of the main questions the first question, well, sometimes the second question, but a lot of times the first question that anybody asks is, oh God, do you not get jealous? And here's the thing.
You're not letting me ask those questions, because that was going to be one.
Yeah, 100%.
Is it the first on your list?
Tell
me no.
No. That wasn't the first one. Though it was the second.
Yeah.
You were right.
I know. So the thing about jealousy that we need to realize is that jealousy is a natural emotion, but it's not, jealousy isn't usually, while it is valid, it is not usually correct. And that's one thing that we all need to realize across the board, is just because our emotions are valid doesn't mean that they're necessarily correct. It doesn't necessarily, and it certainly does not justify any type of reaction. Like, you 100%, the emotions that you feel can be valid, but you can absolutely overreact to something, or you can absolutely, have something that isn't proportional to what's happening. And the way to combat that is honest communication and realizing that usually jealousy is born out of either actual or perceived lack of something, or it is rooted in some sort of insecurity that you have within yourself. So a lot of the times we feel jealousy when we see our partner interacting with somebody in a way that we perceive them to not interact with us. Or we see them doing something that we would have loved to be a part of, but we weren't extended the invitation. So a lot of times the jealousy can be cut off at the knees if we just communicate. And it genuinely comes from that. And so, like, when those feelings come up, you just have to say, hey, so this thing happened and I'm feeling this way about it. And I need to talk about it with you. And, because your partner isn't, 9 times out of 10, they're not going to be a mind reader. So your partner needs you to communicate those things, and they need you to be an advocate for yourself. And, like, it doesn't matter how much I know about what you've been through. That doesn't mean I know how you're going to react to anything, because everybody, holds their trauma and holds their past experiences differently. We could have had, the same traumatic experience, but we're going to react differently depending on who we are and everything else that we went through. So you have to be your own advocate, and that can be hard. I'm not trying to minimize that at all, and I'm not trying to act like that's an easy thing to do, but it is necessary in any relationship, whether or not you're polyamorous. It's necessary in a monogamous relationship. You have to communicate, and you have to let your partner know whether or not something's hurting you, because if you don't, it's going to turn into resentment, and it's going to cause problems. Point blank, period. Like, that's just the reality of the situation. So the more that you can communicate about what you're feeling and the reasons you're feeling that way, because you might not even understand that, and then letting your partner know that, like, this has happened with me and my partner, and my partner has said, I feel like you're doing this, that, or the other thing. And or one of my partners, and I've been like, no, nothing that I did or nothing that I said in that situation was, influenced or informed by that emotion that you're ascribing to it. You're expecting to experience that because of your past relationships and the abuse that you've suffered in the past and the style in which they did it. Because there are things about me and the way that I communicate by virtue of my neurodivergence, in the form of ADHD, PTSD, all of those things. There are ways in which I communicate or don't communicate that butt up against active choices that her past abuser engaged in, like weaponizing silence and kind of love bombing, in that they would start out really heavily giving affection and blah, 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 and then scale it back until she was like, no, love me, please. And then, okay, pull it forward, but it never gets back to where it was initially. And it's always scaling back. It's a manipulation tactic to make that person grateful for every scrap of affection you give them.
Oh, I've been there. I didn't know there was a name for it, but I've been there.
They know you're capable of more. They've seen it.
Right.
So what did they do? How do they get it back?
Right, exactly. And it turns into a thing of, okay, well, what am I doing wrong? When you're not doing anything wrong. They're manipulating you. But like that's very hard to see. And yeah, like I don't want to act like polyamory is this perfect practice, because it's not. And there are people that actively say that they are practicing polyamory when what they're actually doing is just fucking abusing people and trying to create a harem for themselves. There are people who know the language. They know exactly what words to say and when to say them, and they weaponize that. I recognize that. Good practitioners of polyamory recognize that, and we're aware of that. And when we see it happening, we try to reach out to them, or at least I try to reach out. Some people just try to mind my business. But for me, like
not one of those people.
I'm not. Like, I can't be, because I wouldn't want someone to sit back and watch it happen to me.
Same. But people get mad at me for it.
And it's all in how you approach it.
That's fair.
For me, if it's a fucking stranger, I'm not going to be like, you need to leave him. He's doing blah, 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 blah. But even if it's a stranger and it's in a space where like we're sharing that kind of shit, I'm going to be like, no, that's not right. You don't do her like that. Like, you don't do him like that. Like, you call it out without acting like, oh, this happens all the time sort of thing. And if they get mad at me, they get mad at me. I don't have to ever see you again. But at least that person at least whoever's going through that had one person step in. And like, that's my personal view on it. Other people have other views on it, and that's completely fine. But for me, I don't feel comfortable just watching somebody go through something like that, because if they go through something like that in front of people over and over and over again and nobody says anything, that helps to reinforce that they're in the wrong. That helps to reinforce that this is something that their partner should be doing to them. And if they can point to 1, 2, 3 people who called it out, that at least gives them a foothold to be like, wait, maybe something is wrong here.
Mm-hmm. No, I absolutely agree with that. It's always better to say something. Like when I was in the abusive relationship, if someone had said something, come on, y'all.
Right.
Really? I probably would have got down a lot sooner. So absolutely agree with that. But we have about a little over 15 minutes before Joe joins us. So Lex, I don't know if you want to talk about or answer any of Nicole's questions before Joe gets here. Or we want to save.
We can totally address some of them before Joe gets here. I'm also interested in Joe's perspectives on some things. So yeah, if there's anything, Nicole, that you specifically wanted my viewpoint on, you can, 100% go ahead. Shoot.
I mean, so Nova had sent me a list of questions that they wrote down. A few of them I'm not going to say. So, and a couple of them I think would be better to ask with Joe, for Joe's perspective, since Joe is about to get married, but is also polyamorous. Now, so I guess questions that you could definitely help answer would be like, how do you figure out which type of polyamorous relationship is going to work best for you? Like in the case of me and Nova, for example, like we're married, like we've been monogamous to each other for the past 6 years now. Yeah. So,
I always recommend, if non-monogamy is something you want to try, I always recommend dipping your toe into the monogamish pool and define it how you want. Like that's, you stepping out by yourself, you guys having threesomes together, however you want to put your toe in the non-monogamy pool. I always recommend starting with monogamish because that allows you to pull back a lot quicker, and there's a lot less riding on it, because you're not opening it to your partner having full-on relationships with other people initially, and those people getting hurt because all of a sudden the ripcord is pulled. Because, and I also, you know, again, advocate for open communication, not just with your partner, but the people that you are engaging with. You need to absolutely be upfront and be like, hey, you know, using you guys specifically as an example, you know, my spouse and I have been monogamously together for 6+ years. And, you know, we're discovering that maybe we need something else. We aren't currently looking for boyfriends or girlfriends. We are just looking to explore whether or not we can handle having sexual relationships outside of our marriage. And that allows that person to decide whether or not they are okay with that. It allows that person to say, yeah, no, I'm fine with just hooking up with this person. And you're not running the risk of hurting somebody else. Start there, be honest about what you're feeling as you go through it. And then you can say, okay. And then if you're, you know, if you have a repeat person that, oh, I really enjoy hooking up with this person and I'm starting to like them as a person because you're hanging out outside of extracurricular activities, then you can be like, okay, maybe we can, you know, have boyfriends or girlfriends and it'll be okay. What I don't ever recommend, and language that a lot of people get into that can be kind of detrimental, is when they start talking about primary partners. And it's hard, right? Because like you live with this person, you're married to this person, but if you are having full-on relationships with somebody else, it is unfair to say, this is my primary partner and I'm going to protect that relationship over anything else. Because if that's what you're going to do, then you should only be hooking up with other people. You shouldn't be having full-blown relationships with other people, in my opinion. Because that invalidates so many things. Like, it's one thing if that person tries to poke holes and invalidate your other partner if they're trying to cowboy the situation. And that's a term in the polyamorous community for when, you know, there's another partner that enters the relationship with the express goal of stealing you and making you monogamous with them. So that's what cowboying is. If you're trying to be a cowboy,
I wonder why they used that term.
What do you think cowboys did, babe? Like, they went and they took shit that wasn't theirs.
Is that? I mean, I don't.
I mean, not like vaqueros, not like the actual, you know, Hispanic origin of it. But yeah, like white cowboys weren't good dudes. Like,
gotcha.
It's not like a Western movie where they, like yeah. So that's why it's called cowboying.
Gotcha.
So like, short of the other person doing that, like if they're just trying to vibe with you and have a relationship and have you care about their emotional state, it's not fair to them to say, no, if you're saying, no, you are my boyfriend, you are my girlfriend, you are my partner, it's not fair to say, but this partner matters more than you. You know, if they're just a hookup, then absolutely your spouse or your long-term partner matters more than them because they're just a hookup. But
it doesn't even need to be said. Like, it would never even come up. So it wouldn't be toxic or anything. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to look at some of the... Okay, so then... I'm trying to rephrase them because the way that Nova has phrased some of these questions is like that. I don't know if I want to say it like that. But so then you
can say it how it's written. And if I need clarification, I'll ask for it.
In terms of like setting ground rules, like you were talking about earlier, or like just setting terms and things like that. So the reason that the jealousy thing was like number 2 on my list of questions is because that's something that I feel, and that's part of my PTSD brain. Like, I have that insecurity based on just not receiving love and stuff, from people that were supposed to love me. And then it's like, in my head, if I have major FOMO. So like I have a fear of missing out on like lots of things. And so like when I hear that other people are doing things, or like if someone's getting more attention than me or whatever, I get jealous and I get like, it's weird. Like but that's part of my.
It's not weird. So I want like.
Okay. It's not weird. It's just not the right thing I should be feeling, I guess.
I don't want to say that it's not right, but I will say that it's ill-informed, because based on your personal experience and the life that you've lived, those are correct feelings. And that is the track that your brain is supposed to go down. And so a lot of what it is reframing. And a lot of what it is believing in what you have as solid, and believing that if you brought a concern to your partner, that they would care. And you're not alone in insecurity. Before Nova was able to come out to you, like Nova and I had a couple of discussions about how they were feeling about their gender and how they were feeling about how that would affect your relationship. And I had to remind them that they're married to a bisexual woman, number one. Number two, that your attraction to Nova isn't about how they physically present. Your attraction to Nova is about the fact that they love you and that y'all have fun together and that you guys are a good match. And, that what you have is built on so much more than a physical baseline attraction. What you guys have is built on a friendship and is built on a companionship that is endearing. And it's okay that they felt that way. And it's okay that they had those doubts, because of course they had those doubts. Like, you signed up to be married to a man, and, that's changing. And that's a common fear to have. And like, that's a fear that I have sometimes, is like, if I started to, pursue the body and the presentation that I wanted, how would that affect my partnerships? And how would that affect their attraction to me or my attraction to them if I started hormones? Because when you start taking hormones, it genuinely changes your attraction pattern. You ask any trans man or trans woman, like, there are so many trans men who only experienced attraction to women but pre-transition. And then once they got on testosterone, they were like, ooh, wait, dick might be nice.
And that's actually what got brought up the other day. And I had like kind of like an emotional breakdown, because my therapist asked me a question that I hadn't even asked myself, which was, how do you feel about your partner's transition? Mm-hmm. Because I was specifically focusing on what Nova was going through and what Nova was feeling, that I completely forgot to ask myself, like, well, how do I feel? And other than like, am I okay with it? Which of course I'm okay with it. Like, that was never a doubt. Right. And then I had to think about it, and I was like, I guess the thing I feel about it the most is fear. And it's fear based on, all these things are going to change. And while those changes aren't bad for my partner, and I'm attracted to them regardless of how they change their body, are they going to still be attracted to me?
Yeah.
And are they going to still want to be with me? Because then, even though this isn't my personal journey, this is still my life. Right. They're still 100%. My part. Like, I'm married to this person, and I don't want my life to suddenly completely get upended.
Especially when especially when it's due to factors completely outside of control.
And that is where my PTSD brain, because of what I've experienced and the reason I have PTSD is fear of my life being taken from me, or just of the unknown variables that I can't control.
Yeah.
And so because I can't control any of this and because I have nothing but questions and zero answers, I'm starting to feel panicked and fear because I don't know what this is going to mean for my life.
Yeah.
Down the line. And it's not anything that they can do about it, because they also are in a land of all questions and no answers at the moment. So I think that's another reason why the polyamory thing got brought up between the two of us. It's been brought up before, way before the transition talks happened.
Right.
But
y'all were talking about it pre-COVID.
Yeah, because we are both bisexual or pansexual people. We've talked about it earlier in our relationship, just because there is a factor that is missing that neither of us can give the other person, which is fine. And we've talked about what that could mean and how we would go about it, which is another reason why we wanted to have this discussion. And now with the transition stuff coming up, it brings it up even more, because then it's going to be like, I'm still attracted to men. I still want to, experience that. Yeah. Even though I am also attracted to women. And that would be if Nova doesn't decide to make the full transition.
Pre-K pause.
Okay.
The term full transition, let's just put the kibosh on.
Okay. I didn't know.
It's okay. No, it's okay. So when you say something like full transition, that indicates that there's
like an end date.
That indicates that there's one complete way to become yourself. And transition, like everything else to do with gender and sexuality, is extremely personal.
Gotcha.
Some trans women choose trans women or trans men, but some, like if we're talking specifically about the trans femme experience, some trans femmes decide hormones are enough. Some trans femmes say, oh, I want, top surgery, but I'm okay with a penis. Some trans women want, the whole nine. And some people can't do X, Y, or Z because of medical concerns.
Gotcha.
And so saying something like, oh, are you completely transitioned or did you fully transition, is problematic, because there's no one way to be complete. You are complete. Your transition is full when you have decided it is.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I like that, actually. That makes more sense.
Yeah. So, for me, like, I'm mostly comfortable with my situation below the belt, but there are a lot of things that I would change. I would get rid of all of my hair from here down, except for the hair below the belt. I would, get hips a certain type of way. And, I would go on a low dose hormone to change the way that I gain weight. Because for me, my issue with my body and my weight doesn't come from a fat phobic place. It comes from a place of I gain weight like a man,
biological man.
Yeah, I gain weight like a cisgendered man. I gain it in my stomach. I gain it in my chest. I gain it, but I have like I gain weight the way that my father does. Like I look at myself and I look at my father and I'm like, I have my father's body, and that really bothers me.
Gotcha.
But I also live in a state where, and really in any state, but specifically living in the Bible Belt, if I were to pursue medical transition, I would put an even bigger target on my back than already exists. And that's a thing that I think people need to be a lot more cognizant of, is like, transition isn't always a matter of, or pursuing transition isn't always a matter of what we want, because if I was able to do what I want, I would have pursued it a lot harder, a lot faster. But it literally endangers my life to pursue a medical transition.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, we watched the documentary, and looking back, I kind of wish that I had watched it by myself and that Nova didn't watch it because it scared Nova. But we watched the documentary Disclosure.
Yes.
On
it's
Netflix.
Very good.
It's good, but I was literally sitting in my chair fucking bawling my eyes out for most of it, because I'm like sitting here thinking about everything that these people went through, these trans men and women went through that are in the documentary. And they're very, public facing people. They're celebrities and they're on television and film. Like, that was the whole point of the documentary, is that they're discussing trans, roles in films and all that stuff. But like, hearing what they went through and how seeing these images and these portrayals and things like that made them feel, and like the violence against them and all this stuff, I just like literally lost my fucking mind. And I was like, this is what my partner's going to have to deal with. Like, all I want to do is protect them.
Yeah.
And I don't ever want them to feel like that. And I was like crying because I'm like, oh my God, I don't want that to happen.
Yeah, 100%.
I want them to feel comfortable in their body, and I want them to pursue the life that they want to live. But at the same time, that seeing that and hearing those testimonials from those trans people scared the ever living shit out of me, because I don't want that for the person that I love.
Yeah.
I don't want that for anybody. That just makes me so angry.
And what I would, it's not necessarily encouragement, but what I would, say and remind you of is that no matter, there's always going to be things about our reality that we wish we didn't have to face, our partners didn't have to face, nobody had to face, whether that is not wanting your partner to have to deal with the mental health struggles that they deal with, or it's, not wanting them to have to deal with a shitty, unsupportive family. Like, there's always going to be things that are completely outside of our control. The only thing that we can do is make sure that we are a safe space, and that we are an advocate for them, and that we are a source of support for them. Because there's always something that somebody is going to go through that we're like, baby, I wish I could protect you from that. I wish the world wasn't like that.
Yeah.
Whether it's gender things, racial things, mental health things, socioeconomic things, there's always going to be something. That's just.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's the world we fucking live in.
Yeah.
I don't mean to interrupt this very heavy conversation, but Joe is ready to join us.
All right, yeah,
lighten up a little bit. Smiles, kids. We're on the internet.
Bee-boo.
Oh,
Joe.
hello. I made it.
Hi.
Okay.
Hello, Joe's partner, soon-to-be spouse.
Hi, Joe's friend.
Hi.
Friend.
The one that I constantly refer to as person.
Person.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, please. Okay, Joe,
Yeah,
please
tell that.
Please introduce yourself, and if person also wants to weigh in on things,
Absolutely.
both introduce yourself. Tell me how you identify sexually and gender-wise, and
Your pronouns.
do this.
Yes. Okay. So I am Joe Arianes. She and those. I literally went blank on the other one. She, her, hers. Yeah, that.
She and those. No, I get it.
Like, honestly, if like you refer to me as they, them, I don't care.
Yeah.
But anyways, let's see. So heterosexual, polyamorous, biromantic.
Yeah.
Is where I fall into the crazy spectrum of things. And learning that the romantic scale existed, like,
that blew my goddamn mind too.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
Yes, we talked about that. We talked about that last month when we were covering like sexuality and romanticism. Like they exist separately.
Anyways.
Oh yeah, it blew my damn mind too.
Yeah. Galen Llewellyn. He, him, his.
Yes.
I got it right the first time.
You did.
Heterosexual. I don't think there's a word for it, but like appreciate the attractiveness of everyone. Kind of have like a crush on Taye Diggs because like.
I mean,
why wouldn't you?
Yeah,
like, that man is beautiful.
We all saw the Rent movie.
Yeah, I don't know if there's words specifically describing, but like appreciate, like, damn, you're beautiful. Okay.
Oh, Galen, Nova is asking for a name spelling. They're gonna give you
Gaylan.
I was off by one letter. I was gonna go Gael. Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking of the GAE too.
Yeah. Also, what I would say to that is it doesn't need a label because that's just you not participating in toxic masculinity. Because because genuinely the fact is like everyone is aware of societal standards. Everyone is also aware of what they find aesthetically pleasing. Recognizing that this is an objectively attractive person exists outside of sexual orientation. It's just like, no, that person is pleasing to look at. Do I want to kiss them or like do anything else? No, but I like to look at them. Like,
I can appreciate that they are attractive.
Right, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, like, and the sooner that more cis hetero men figure that out, the better we'll all be for it.
See, I gotta say, top two people, Taye Diggs and who's the Alcide guy? Joe Mange.
Oh, Joe Manganiello. Oh.
He does.
Oh
he
God.
does have a big old crush on him.
Okay. So what
Who wouldn't? He loves D&D. He's fucking built. He's absolutely hilarious in like every time he does comedy. He's a fantastic actor and he's a good person. Like, how could you not?
What I do love and appreciate about this is all of the men he has listed are like brown or brown adjacent.
Yes.
We love that.
I love it. We love to see
it. But yeah, we were just discussing the kind of repercussions of, you know, when you start to explore non-monogamy, and especially, you know, if you have a partner of trans experience and they, you know, pursue their transition, you know, that specifically. But what I do want to ask you, Joe, is like, how did you arrive at non-monogamy and what has your experience with that been?
I feel like I should preface everything that's about to come out of my mouth with I was raised in the Catholic Church.
I was raised in the Southern Baptist Church, mama. Yeah.
So that definitely gave an entire context to my early life.
Yeah.
Which was really odd because I questioned everything and I got in trouble a lot. And I wasn't that old whenever I was like, I don't know about this, but I think I'll upset mom and dad if I'm 8 years old being like, I'm not Christian. Like, this doesn't make sense. I'm going to check out other churches and see how I feel about this. And my parents, being the fucking hippies that they are, were like, yeah, sure. Go check out other things. Go read other religious texts. We don't care. Come ask us questions if it's confusing.
Oh, yeah.
We love a good Catholic hippie.
Man. And, I mean, like, it wasn't that long that too many years afterwards that they're like, yeah, so we're exiting the Catholic Church as well because like the Pope at the time or something was like came out about it.
Shit's getting wild.
Time out. You are wearing an Uncle Iroh's delectable tea. If I didn't already want to marry Joe because they're having a Star Wars Day wedding, that sealed the deal for me. You want to talk about bi-romanticism, Joe? So I am hardcore in love with you.
Oh God. That's the whole reason we set this up. That's the real reason.
This is a date for you guys.
Ridiculous.
I did not mean to seduce someone so easily.
All you had to do was put on that Uncle Iroh shirt and just lean back.
To be fair, she had me at Star Wars Day wedding. Like
also,
that was where she had me.
To be fair, Nicole, I love you. You're easy.
Oh my God.
They're not wrong.
Read. That's
They're
not
wrong.
read. 100% no shame.
They're not wrong.
Tea.
They're not wrong. They're not wrong. I'm a big old whore.
Oh. But yeah,
I'm like Emily's friend that she mentioned earlier that got her into the polyamorous relationship. I just have a lot of love to give.
Yeah, 100%.
So
my friend.
Back to okay.
We were roommates.
Yes. You were discovering non-monogamy as an option.
Yeah. So and why the religious stuff is important to say is because that definitely kept it all very sheltered and like, and it's supposed to be like this and like still trying to explore the world and understand things. And no matter what other religious or philosophical texts I was coming across, I still had that like caged in perspective to break through from.
Yeah.
And then when I was in undergrad, there was an individual I had a relationship with for a while, but then like giant asterisk, he was a dick, douchebag, like not a good person at all, but hormones and heart will do whatever the fuck it wants. And so like, it's like, I know I love him, but I cannot be in a relationship. And like, I had another relationship with this other person. I was like, and I got really confused about all of this and talking to a dear, dear friend of mine here, like left Georgia. I was like, I have to get the fuck out of here. Like too much going on. And I sat down with her and I was like, what does this mean? Like, this doesn't make sense. Like, am I a terrible person? Like, how can like, I truly be in love with two people at the same time? And like, there's pros and cons to both of them. And like, I just don't get it. And she's like, you're polyamorous. And I was like, I'm sorry, what was this magical word you just said to me? She's like, polyamorous. And she's like,
what spell are you talking about?
Yeah. And she like pulled up her phone and like, I have this distinct memory of sitting at her little kitchen table in her tiny apartment and we were looking over it on her phone. And she's like, this is what you were describing. This is you. And I was like,
what an amazing friend.
I love it. Oh, okay. All right. I can accept this. This now makes sense.
Yeah.
Huh. And so, but then like I had very, very long monogamous relationship with one of those individuals. Mm-hmm. I finally was just like,
I'm putting money down on the douchebag.
It was not the douchebag.
Good for you. Good for you. We love that.
So that gets all like, that's its own weird, like, right. Blah. So 8.5 years with one of the individuals, I finally, like, for completely different reasons, like, flipped that table and went, I'm out. I am not your mother.
Oh, yeah. No, I feel that.
Mm-hmm. I just, like, I was stressed out and the other dude was, like, there in the wings and, like, I went and not in the wings. Like, that's the wrong way of putting that. But like there was still the
wings of your life, not your like romantic relationship.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Like he wasn't waiting with bated breath for you to pick him up.
No, not at all.
Right.
Never did he ever. Anyways, I was frustrated about a lot of stuff. I was trying to run an art studio. Was trying to go to grad school. I had like a really bad medical scare where I almost died and like all this stuff. And like this partner I'd been with for so long just was not the support that I needed. And I was going nuts and I was not in a good like headspace.
Yeah.
Went and hung out with other friend. And he looked at me and he was like, are you happy? And I was like, He's like, then why are you not happy? Because whatever it needs to be to make you happy, you need to do exactly that. And I was like, out of all the bullshit I ever went through with that individual, that was the one and only honest thing he ever said to me. Like truly, like without any ulterior motives behind it or anything. I was like,
yeah,
you're right. I should be happy. I am not happy in this relationship. Fuck it. I'm done. Anyways. So once I exited that relationship, I was like, I am polyamorous and this is the first opportunity. Like I'm not in a monogamous relationship. I can feel this out. I can do this thing and I can be open to myself and I can be like, I love you and I love you and I love you. And I love all these people in very different ways. And guess what the fuck I ended up doing with that?
Dating them all.
No, I made a fucking photography master's thesis out of the concept.
I love that. I am here for it. I support it 1,000%, and I would like to see it.
Yeah,
the one that Nathan and I got to see? Is that the one that Nathan and I went to? Oh, hell yeah. I have art from that. Fuck y'all. That's on my wall.
Yes.
It's the one it's her like behind a curtain in France.
Oh, that was the guy who I dated in France. He's the one who technically like pushed the button on that framing.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's
the one where I'm like opening up the curtains.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I fell in love with that print because Nathan and I got to go to that show and got to see all those photos and they were fucking amazing. And I could only afford one picture at the end of it. And I was like, this one, I want this one. I want this one. And I like searched through it because I had seen it in the beginning and I was like, I hope she has this one for sale. And I found it and I was like, please God. And I found it and I was so excited and I did put it on my wall. I wish it was in the office so I could show you.
And my cheeks are on fire at the moment. Thank you.
It's wonderful.
But yeah, I mean, I it's not that I dated everyone that I was in love with because the entire point of the thesis is I was discussing it was that that
I distracted you.
You didn't necessarily date, but you explored those feelings through a medium that you felt confident in.
Yeah, and the entire point, like I combined the idea of the Buddhist Eightfold Path with 8 types of love, and through these relationships, it creates who you are.
Yeah,
and so like, is every relationship that you feel love in a romantic one? No. Is all of those feelings of love healthy? No. And so like there's paternal and maternal, like, so it was divided into 2 categories of family and then lovers. And anyways, so it explored like the different levels of just like maternal, paternal, sibling, like that kind, toxic to healthy to like platonic, all these different kinds of love that one person can house within themselves to create a complete person.
Yeah. And that's the thing is like, even it, like, pulling a little bit on one part of my ancestry, Greek has like 8 different words for love, and each one is right. Each one is a specific type of love, and it's beautiful. And there's a reason that there is language for it because they are distinct. And that's another facet of polyamory is exploring that and being like, is this romantic? And then discovering, no, but I want you in my life forever. Like, wanting someone in your life forever doesn't mean they have to be a romantic partner, but being open to that possibility is beautiful. Galen, I want to ask you, you say person, is this just a like best friend? Is this a partner of sorts?
Yes.
Yes
to all of that.
As a queer person, I 100% understand this.
I mean, she started using that term for me just naturally.
Yeah.
And then I heard it and understood it and went, okay. And just like, that was my little pen name.
Mhm.
I mean, our relationship started because I was in a super complicated one that I can totally go into if you like.
We've got time.
If you are comfortable, go for it.
Like, and that's the thing.
So-
I've told Joe this. I've told Nick this, and I've told M this. If there's anything you don't want to talk about, if we touch on anything that you're like, ooh, feel free to say flag on the play, or have Joe message me and we will 100% move on or unpack whatever you want to do. This is all about creating a healthy space in which we can talk about our experience and educate people. So
Okay.
And I have lots of questions.
Okay. So, I mean, to start with like the basic bullet point and then go to the epilogue or prologue is I was in a really bad breakup and I just was not in a healthy mental space to date or to romantically see anyone.
Yeah.
And she essentially came in and moved back from Atlanta to Little Rock to heal and do the exact same thing. And she got a job at my place of my work. And then we met. Fun little hot for teacher
Yes.
kind of relationship.
Oh, is that why
And-
you said earlier that they were your sensei at one point?
Yeah. So I work as a karate teacher.
Go on.
I've been doing that since I was young.
He's been a karate teacher as long as I have been a freelance artist.
Right.
Oh, dang.
And like I teach kids, I teach adults. And so I've just been doing it forever. And so she came in and started working for tuition basically.
Yeah.
And I worked there. And so we developed this friendship. And so during the friendship developed feelings.
Yeah.
And so for like my past,
Be more in
My
frame.
past.
so yeah, to give context about like where I was coming from. So I was a very romantically immature. I couldn't connect romantically. I felt like I didn't know enough. And so I was afraid throughout college, one, of just sex in general, but also that weird catch-22 that men usually have where like you are supposed to be born knowing about sex. And so girls don't want to teach. And like, oh shit, how am I supposed to figure that out?
There are also so many levels to that because not only like as a man are you supposed to be like, as a man, you're supposed to be hypersexual. You're supposed to be this, you're supposed to be that. But as a woman, like or even as a femme, because like I've run into this as well, like you can't ever like seek your own pleasure and you can't ever tell a man, this is how I want you to do it, because then you're emasculating them, which like the whole goal here is supposed to be mutual enjoyment. And the whole like point is that we're having fucking fun. If I'm not having fun, I need to be able to tell you I'm not having fun. And this is how you allow me to have fun.
Right.
I could do a whole dissertation on this shit.
And you will someday.
Oh. That's gonna be my thesis when I get my doctoral degree in sex therapy. Like,
So you guys ended up in a there's
my
more to
past is when I say complicated, it's capital C complicated. So yeah, my background is I like self-prescribed myself with the title sexually immature. I was below the line of where a 22, 23, 24-year-old in theory should be post-college.
good.
And so I started developing feelings with someone I was working with at the karate school. The problem is,
let's put an asterisk there. He dated two secretaries for the dojo.
All right, Pin in the Company Inc.
I was like, someone call that a problem.
Well, it was like a Jim and Pam going for secretaries kind of thing.
Goodbye, Jim. Okay.
The worst.
No one wants to be Jim.
Side note, Jim is a bare minimum bitch, and I'm tired of people looking for their Jim.
That's right. We want a Dwight or nothing.
A Dwight, a Michael, even, because Michael is so, and that's the
Michael,
thing. Like,
yeah.
Oh my God, this is not what this discussion is about.
It's not, but like going back to the whole like emasculating a man thing, like that, I do not like The Office. Parks and Rec is far superior because those characters actually grow and turn into other people by the end of the show. But I think
point.
Michael is willing to learn. Like his whole relationship with Homegirl, he's like, just tell me what you want. Just tell me how to please you. And like, that's the thing, is like, you need to come with that energy because everybody is unique. Everybody wants different things out of their sexual and romantic encounters. And if you aren't able to hear them out and say, please tell me how best to please you, and I will tell you how best to please me, you're not going to have a good time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the person I fell for was 17, and I at the time was 24.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, babe.
So one of my friends noticed, well, actually,
Not one.
my boss noticed.
Yeah.
And
No, not one. We all told you.
and so the kind of the way that timeline went was I was like, I don't know what to do and just how to deal with this because I am not afraid when I talk with her. Essentially, I fell in love with the best friend.
Mm-hmm.
And she was a little bit more mature for her age, whereas I was less. And so it kind of balanced this out. Essentially, we were both learning at the same time. And so my friends came at it from like so many different points of view where they legally found out like, okay, as long as her parents know, you are fine. As long, like by the law and by everything, like just boom.
Yeah.
And so after telling her parents and essentially that went well, because I think her parents basically were like, well, she can't do any fucking worse.
A ringing endorsement.
Right. I mean, that's how it came out, because I was like, yeah, I got a girlfriend. I mean, we had a wonderful, growing relationship for 2 years.
Yeah.
Where she basically at the tail end of her junior year of high school, going into her senior year, like we both grew with each other.
Yeah.
And she grew, I grew. But then the biggest choice of her life at the moment happened, where she was going to choose what she was going to do next. And for me, I got caught up in the first love dilemma of like, boom, no, like I'm already starting to try to make plans and things. And so I had to experience that first love post breakup disaster, where she went off to college and was like, I'm going to experience new things. I'm changing. But then at the same time, I essentially caught up to the 21 or 24-year-old that I was.
Yeah,
like
you made
I'm sexually viable and this is what I want.
Yeah.
And so for me, my life crashed hard. And so after losing first love, like I was not in a place to do anything. And she was recovering from her own things. And so both of our mutual friends from the karate school basically went, you should go ask her out. She's an artist. She's into karate. she's hot. Like
She's
she's
hot.
a nerd.
Yeah.
Like, go, dude, go. Like, you just went, we're after one person, go after another. And I was like, I'm not ready. And she definitely was in the same boat of like, nope, I'm not ready. I'm not doing anything. And so our friendship developed throughout until
we accidentally started dating.
basically we accidentally
I've been there. Oh my God.
And every one
Oh
of
my God.
my friends, and this is one cute story we do have, is that all of my friends kept coming to me because they know I need blunt and I don't do subtle. They're like, dude, are you dating?
Oh,
I'm like, no, we're just really good friends. And they're like,
blunt went somewhere else in my head.
I know, me too. And then I was like, oh wait.
I'm with you.
oh yeah, no, I am so
You need straightforward
direct.
communication.
Yeah, I need direct. And so they were just like, dude, you act like you've been dating for 5 years now. Like, that's the kind of aura you deliver, that you bicker, you literally cut up meat and like put it on her plate. And
No, you don't.
Okay, but that was a very specific situation.
No, it's fun. Like, I'm not mad about it. I think it's
cute.
fucking cute, but it's also fucking hilarious.
yeah, they were so confused because they're like, you act like with this person naturally as if you know each other and have been dating in a mature way. So why aren't you? And that led to the like just fuck it moment of like me asking all of my female friends, like, give me advice. How should I come at this? And like I asked like mature female friends to like one of my friends to idiots to jokers to like
Joe has feelings about some of the people.
I asked one of my friends who I knew was around her age.
Yeah.
Okay.
And was like, how would you and Scott, wanted to and she was like, dude, just ask. Just say like, hey, do you want to go on a real date? And if the answer is no, like, cool, let's keep doing what we're doing. And that's basically what happened.
Yeah.
Is asked her out officially. And then that was the other really neat moment was asked her out and she said no.
Hey, Emily's got that same story.
Same.
So, but the complicated thing is I had already gotten my job in Japan.
Yeah. Oh, so you were like leaving. So you were like,
and at the dojo there is a rule.
Oh yeah.
We call it the brown belt rule, that if you are a brown belt and higher in rank, you cannot date
below that.
Yeah.
Don't go below that, but you only have one pass.
And we actually, that has an interesting story that still fits with this still conversation.
Good night.
Good night, Evan.
Good night, sweet boy.
Good
Sorry,
job.
Oh no, you're fine, babies.
The boy takes precedent.
Bye. Good job.
Bye, Internet.
Anyway.
This tangent actually is really still interesting into this conversation is we only have this rule about older students can't date, teachers especially cannot date younger students because of our sister school in Atlanta. They had a big ass problem.
Atlanta.
In Atlanta.
Girl, stop. I live here. I know.
No shit.
The male teachers would just jump on the new starting female student.
Neat.
And drive their asses away. And it wasn't until my boss went to all the high teachers and was like, do you realize after the unfortunate passing of like my teacher, who was the badass, like, and I say this in quotes because she has the title, badass woman of the entire karate style. After his teacher, Mary, passed away, like all the girls disappeared. Mm-hmm. And he's like,
didn't feel safe.
We're fucking up. Like you all are fucking up. And I mean, Tanner was married and so he wasn't participating in that, but he definitely, as an older generation male, was like, you guys are dipping your sticks in the wrong place and you're fucking up our entire thing.
Yeah.
Damn.
So don't.
So don't. I am making this rule. And if anyone wants to argue, come see me. and I will defend it. So we carried that on to his place of business now in Little Rock. And I had already counted my dating my previous ex as that rule, just as my own little like.
Yeah, you made that
my one
that call for yourself, which I applaud.
And so yeah, she was a little afraid of the like, well, the rule and also the going away. And so it
like I even though he okay. So we went and saw Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
And you know how long that movie is. Mm-hmm. We proceeded to talk in the parking lot for 5 hours afterwards.
Which we have already done
numerous times.
4 times or 5 times before.
Yeah. Like every time we went and saw a movie together, we would just stay in the parking lot and just keep talking.
Yeah.
For hours. So anyways, that happened again. Like the sun has set. It is nighttime now and he needs to go home because like he has something he has to do tomorrow. And yeah,
but neither of you wants to leave.
Yeah, no,
right.
it's tough. And like he pops open the door and it's like, do you actually want to like go like do this for real? Like actually have a real date? And I was like, I just start crying and I'm like, I have to say no. I don't want to say no, but I have to say no. And it's just, and yeah. So
and so the conversation then turned to, like, from my perspective, was like, I'm going to take the advice that I got, which was like, cool. No, you want to like, we can keep doing the thing. If you change your mind, you know what my answer is. If you want to do like whatever, like I've put it out there.
In your mind.
You're the ball's in your court, but like
I didn't go that far.
And then basically from there it turned into real dating.
Well, I mean, there was a week gap.
There was a week.
I went back.
Girl. A week is insignificant based on how long we're together.
Yeah, but then like in that week gap, I went to the same friend that was like, "You're polyamorous," and I was like, girl, what am I supposed to do about this? And she's like, honey, I haven't seen you this happy ever with any of your partners.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you seem to have a thing for martial artists. Like that's your type.
Okay, I'm sorry, but if you don't have a thing for martial artists, you're wrong.
Exactly.
She was the one that she had to point it out. She was like, you dated this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, and this guy. And like, and there was this other one. And what's the one thing in common? I was like, sure.
That's like me with dudes in bands. That's my thing. Dudes, musicians.
Again. Duh.
I have a thing for musicians. That's like, I don't know. Like almost every guy I've dated minus one has been a musician. And that one relationship that wasn't a musician was my worst relationship by far. The most toxic, the most horrible, which is weird because musicians are notorious assholes. But
I'm going to go ahead and say it. There's no way we're finishing this up by 12 on the dot.
No.
But I will say, Nicole, if there's anything you want to ask Jo specifically, because she is entering into a marriage as a polyamorous person, you're somebody who is married, and if my perspective won't matter, go ahead and ask that now because I have to go to the bathroom.
Okay.
We'll be right back.
Okay, nice.
So I know. So from what you were saying earlier, like polyamory to you is just like relationships aren't defined as like, you know, they don't have to just be sexual or romantic or like whatever, like you're polyamorous in term, like just, you know, in the broadest of spectrums. Mm-hmm. But like, so as someone that's getting married now, does that then mean that you will no longer, are you going to then be monogamous?
I mean, I already have been.
Yeah.
I've been in a committed monogamous relationship with him, and that's how our dynamic has always been. In the period that we were accidentally dating, I think I went on two other dates that were terrible. And I think that's why for the longest time, I did not register that he and I were dating as well, because they were always so easy and natural. And that just like, other dates were such a struggle and a slog, and it was just like I need to go home and take a shower and like
yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, and the other part is like one of the tenets in multiple romantic polyamorous relationships is that you should not rely on one person to fulfill all the things that you need in your life.
I was talking about that earlier.
Yeah.
Like from the lens of like myself, is that like, not only is it unwise to expect one person to fulfill everything I need, it's selfish.
Mm-hmm.
It would be selfish of me to say, if you don't provide me everything I need, you're not a good partner.
Yeah.
And like for people who are monogamous, basically what that means is like, because their partner is not going to fulfill everything they need either. But if you are monogamous, if you're incapable of doing romantic or sexual things outside of one person, then what you need to be aware of is that some of the things that you need, you're going to have to get from your friendships and from your familial relationships, because one person is not a catch-all support system. That's why it's called a system, because you have multiple parts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so for me, whenever I went back in Atlanta and I was living my full raging polyamorous life, and I had multiple partners and I was dating multiple people and all of that, I had like the one main relationship and another secondary and then like tertiary stuff. Like,
Yeah.
it was a lot of energy. But you know, it took that many people in one place to like keep me satiated in the various ways that I needed.
Yeah.
I don't have that same bursting at the seams with him, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
And it's also like, he knows and he understands I have really intense bonds and friendships with other people. And like the majority of them are actually in my bridal party.
I love that.
Because like the one woman in my life that I'm like, no, I've been in love with her for ages. She's my freaking maid of honor. And he knows that. And like, I was honest with him about that. Like, I don't even know where that conversation happened in our relationship. But I was like, no, there's this chick in Virginia. Like, I love her. And like, I'm her, like the guide parent instead of godparent. I'm the guide parent for Brooke. And like, that's
I
just
love
like,
that guide parent.
I know, I've never heard that before, but that's amazing.
When she asked me that, I was just like, yes, I won't be a guide parent. I hate kids, but I love her.
Emily, you're not asking me in this moment, but I am formally submitting my application.
Same.
My title for Evan.
Understood. Oh my God, I love guide parent.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No,
That also makes it seem like there could be more than like the two that are supposed to be set for like the whole godparent thing. There's supposed to be a male and a female, like that's
and
weird.
multiple guides.
To me,
yeah.
And I think
because you need multiple guides for multiple different parts.
Exactly, that's what I was about to say. Like for me, the feeling that guide parent evokes is that like we need you to impart this particular type of wisdom to our child.
That only you can.
Yeah.
And then other people in their lives, their other guide parents are going to impart these other separate wisdoms.
I love
because
that.
I fucking love that. I want to be a guide parent.
But back on topic.
Yeah, sorry.
Coincidentally on that topic is like my childhood best friend asked me to be the godparent of his daughter. Because I'm Uncle Galen, like that's just what I am. But he came at it from that way without calling it guide parent.
Yeah.
He was like, legally, I'm not asking you to do that, but I do want you to guide her and do stuff, you know, and throughout life.
Yeah.
Just don't show her the things that got us in trouble in high school. I was like, right on.
And
I love that.
Got
like,
it.
I have a lot of feelings about children and parenthood, and I don't ever want to have biological children. there's a lot of generational trauma that I'm not trying to pass on. I have so many different, hello, natives. We're children of genocide. Like there's just things that I don't want to impart. And then just my like neurological disorders, and like just my own personal neuroses, there's so many things that I don't want to pass on. And I definitely don't ever really want a baby, but I am very passionate about protecting children and children being heard and children feeling like they're people.
Joe is freaking out.
For me,
That's literally how I got the job I have now, is saying all of that to a woman who is obsessed with babies.
Right. And so for me, like my thing is I would 100% adopt or foster, and I would always do older children.
That's what Justin and I decided, Nova and I decided to do.
Yeah, I would always do 7, 10, 13, 14. Like I would always like
kids,
7 and
because
up.
people all want babies, and you know there are kids that get left behind. You know,
so many kids fall through the cracks. But
yeah. Anyway,
we're here to talk about children. We'll do that another time.
That's a different episode.
I guess. So just to give you a little bit of context, Joe. So Nova and I have been married for going on 5 years. And we've been in a relationship for 6 years, a little over 6 years, but like it was very capital C complicated. So a
friend.
Transition talks from Nova. We've had this conversation about potentially opening our relationship. Don't know what that means because we never got further into the conversation, but just tiptoed around that conversation. And now more so than ever, because of the trans things that are coming up, we're talking about what can we do in our relationship to maintain what we have, but also be fulfilled in the areas that neither of us are capable of filling for that person.
Now I get it. Yes.
So now as an actual married couple that's been nothing but monogamous for 6+ years, it's like we're trying to figure out how to navigate the world of polyamory and like what works for us, and trying to get advice from people that have experienced it, have knowledge about it, and are currently living it.
Gotcha.
I think the question I asked before you joined that we got off track because that's what we do. Hello, Dilly and Dally. We was like, what are some, I know that the ground rules and the terms of that you set for yourself in your relationship are personal, but are there ones that are like transcendent, that are like overarching, or like ones that you would advise to have in there?
And what I said before you were able to join, and you were doing other things, so I'm sure you didn't see. What I said was that I always encourage people who want to explore the possibility of non-monogamy is to first start with being monogamish, which, I kind of, you're right. Like, and I defined it, and I was like, and the reason that I suggest that is because it lets you know where you are with physical intimacy, with other people outside of your relationship before emotional things ever get brought into it. And, then if you decide, okay, we can deal with the physical stuff, then you start to introduce the emotional stuff, because 9 times out of 10, the emotional stuff is so much heavier than the physical stuff. And so like, I always suggest start out being monogamish and be completely honest, not only with your partner, but with the people that you're inviting in. That way you're not victimizing anybody in the process.
I feel like that for some people that you will come across within the poly community, that particular order of operations might become very difficult because of demisexuals.
That's me.
Okay. And then people who they have to have the friendship first before a sexual attraction ever arises, like that. for me, I feel like that limits possibilities in certain situations. And for me, the biggest thing is there always had to be 100% clear communication with everyone involved.
Yes.
As soon as there's a breakdown in communication, as soon as there's lying or manipulation, that's when it just goes to shit.
Yeah.
So now...
And that's what I was very clear on, is that everything has to be very clearly communicated, not just what is happening, but how you are feeling about what is happening.
Now, so that's where one of Nova's questions that they wrote down was...
Yes, I saw. It says one person looking for more emotional connection, the other looking for more intimate connection.
No, not that. I meant like the actual questions that they sent me to ask you guys.
And Nova, by intimate connection, do you mean physically intimate connection? Because emotions are intimate.
Yeah.
So one of the questions that they had written down for me to ask you guys was, where'd it go? When and how often is open communication preferable? Like, is this like every day you're talking about this? Like, is this like you check in with each other weekly? Like, is it like it is not a, we set up checkpoints. It is something arises within me. We're talking about it. Yeah. It is not, I'm going to check in with you every second Friday of the month.
We'll sync our calendars.
No. Oh my God, I would lose my mind. But literally it is.
Keep all your emotions right here till Tuesday.
Right. No, it's literally, I have this feeling, I have this thought, communicate it. That is what open and honest communication is. It's not, when it's convenient for you, I'm going to, and like to a certain degree, right? Because like as somebody myself, like I am very traumatized. I have my own mental illnesses and spoons level things. So what it turns into is when I have a feeling or my partner has a feeling, it is, hey, I am feeling this. When you have the spoons, we need to have a conversation about it. And you need to, if you don't have the spoons, like that's okay, but you need to actively be looking for a time where you have the spoons and set aside spoons to have that conversation.
Okay. So then, so what Nova had said in the chat was the thing that they're talking about is in our relationship specifically, Nova is a more physical being than I am. In terms of sex, and and that's where the demisexual part of me comes in, and I didn't even know there was a word for that. So I had the same kind of feeling like Joe had when she heard polyamory. When I heard demisexual, I like lost my damn mind. Like, that's me. There's a word for that. I love it. So like I need strong emotional connection in order to be physically intimate with someone, and I didn't know that was a thing. And so, but sorry.
No, I was just going to point out, like, I was just going to asterisk to demisexual and strong emotional connection. There isn't a set time frame on strong.
Yeah, no, it could be that night.
Right, like, 100%. And I know you know that. I'm just like, making it clear for people who are in the chat that don't know. Yeah, like, there are demisexuality and developing deep emotional connection doesn't mean I have to know you for a year, doesn't mean I have to know you for 6 months. You develop like your emotional, people know this intrinsically, but they don't think about it. You develop emotional connections however quickly you develop them. Sometimes you click with a person like that. With me and Emily, like, she and I connected very quickly, and like, given like we went through a trauma together with my ex, but
I got Lex in the divorce.
Yes, I got you.
Oh wait, you told me about this. Holy shit! But I didn't.
That's me. Oh. That's me. That's me.
Oh. Hi. Okay. Wow. All right.
And yes, that was the Dragon Con experience.
And and it was crazy because. So I go into that experience with my ex, apparently was my ex at the time, was news to me, because he had made it clear to everyone that we were there with that we were not together, and he got to do whatever he wanted with whomever he wanted. He did not make this clear to me, but then we were at, number one, I was doing a cosplay that had nothing to do with him. I was enjoying my Dragon Con without him because he was making a point to be without me. He like said something to Emily about like not wanting to be with me and like, could she distract me? And she was like, I mean, I guess. And then she ended up loving me. But like, so like
them for myself. I was like, this one's mine, thanks.
We spent like the whole fucking day together. We went to tea together. Like the only time we separated was when she was going to a Top Gear panel, and I'm like, I'm not mask enough for that shit.
I was just buying enough for it.
Emily, I would have been right there with you.
Well, and
it was dope.
100%. This is a joke, not to say you have to be masked to be into cars. You can have a full set of acrylics and change a fucking carburetor. 100%. I don't care.
I'm the one who fixes the cars in our relationship.
Yeah.
Nathan's never allowed.
Yeah.
But see, same, because Nova doesn't know how to change a tire. And I was like, what the fuck? Like,
no, literally, can we talk about the fact that somebody's tire went like out in front of my house? There was a cis het man.
No, you didn't. I don't want to hear it.
There was a cis het man and two like non-femme women. I was the only one that knew how to change a tire in the whole group.
I want to circle us back to.
We're gonna circle back.
Back to polyamory. So the reason that we Nova and I are in
before
Nova and I are in that what?
Before we go back to that, I just wanted to finish because like was. I probably shouldn't have said his name. We're going to bleep that out for the YouTube.
Jason.
Nova, note, bleep out the name that I just said. So that was my last monogamous relationship. And at the time we were at Dragon Con, he like didn't want to spend time with me. And I didn't realize he actively didn't. I just thought our schedules were opposed. But the fact that I wasn't like seeking him out and being like, please do this with me, please do that with me, like kind of drove him crazy. And
he was upset, like legitimately upset that Lex was not reaching out and wanting to be around him and annoying him as much as he assumed assumed they would.
Right. Like
it was like clearly annoying him. It was weird.
He expected me to be clamoring for his attention. And I am one of those people that is just like, we'll do what we do. And if you want to be a part of it, absolutely, I would love to have you. But like, if you don't care, okay. Because the thing is like, I was in communication with him about what I was doing. And he never indicated to me, oh, I want to do that with you. Oh, like, okay, whatever.
He wanted you to be desperate.
Exactly. Because he
hate that.
Yeah. And then this is where it brings the polyamory back into it.
Right. Because not only did he force me to run out and like buy things so that he could be included in a cosplay that I was doing, we were at the Yule Ball. And if you've been to Dragon Con, you know what the Yule Ball is. If you don't, it's just a big fucking party. And
fucking parties.
I was dancing with a dude who had just like happened to become part of our group for whatever reason. And he ended up like kissing me and like we were doing a thing and it made him another bleep right there. It made him irate. He lost his fucking mind.
And just heads up, he was dressed as young Hulk or what is
Hulkling.
it?
Hulkling? He was dressed as a character named Hulkling, who was the boyfriend of the character I was
green, and he was very angry and yelling, and it was like really hard not to be like,
it would have been hilarious. It would have been hilarious if it was not so fucking abusive.
Yes.
And
like it was like, really?
He was going off and he was like so fucking mad. And then everybody else that was with us, Emily, Aaron, Jack, everyone was just like, you can't do this. And he was threatening to like hold my shit hostage. And Aaron was trying to tell him, my mother is a cop and I know that you cannot do that. It is illegal. And oh, you're gonna call the cops on me? None of y'all get to stay in the room tonight, blah, 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 blah. And his best friend was also in that room and she wasn't comfortable staying in the room. Like he convinced her to stay in that room that night.
He was so like aggressive. It sent Aaron and I into a complete like PTSD breakdown. Like I went to go see Nathan. Like I got dropped off at Nathan's.
We drove you there. My dad came to pick me up.
Lex's dad dropped me off. I felt like a child, and I got yelled at in the city. And I felt so my friend's dad dropped me off at my boyfriend's house, and I was like, "This is the worst. This is the worst." And I went to Nathan. I just cried.
Yeah. And so like that was my last monogamous relationship because like I realized again, I grew up Southern Baptist and I recognized that I was queer at a very early age and that fucked me up because, you know, I was told my whole life growing up, like gay is wrong. You're going to hell, blah, 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 blah. And so it took me a long time to come to terms with that. And then a big part of, you know, my early queer experience was trying to, you know, when it wasn't done in secret and dangerous, was trying to emulate what heterosexuality is supposed to be. So like I was trying to have like one partner and be okay and that be what it's supposed to be. And like that is 100% not only heteronormativity, but toxic monogamy because you know, good monogamy and like correct monogamy is recognizing, no, like this is what's right for us and we love each other and we are complete people without one another. And like this was one of the things that I said in the like because I officiated Emily and Nate's wedding. One of the things that I said in it was like that you complement one another. You are like you're complete people without one another, and like that's one of the things that like I'm paraphrasing, but like that's one of the things that
it was
that's one of the things that's very beautiful about your partnership is that you are two complete individuals who complement each other beautifully. And that's what, like, if you're going to be monogamous, that's the goal. And that's the goal for polyamory too. Like you want your partners to complement who you are and to help you learn other ways to experience life. And whether or not you choose to explore those avenues is completely up to you. But it is always beautiful to have people to open you up to other experiences of life.
Yeah, you can have more than one complementary color.
Exactly.
I think where
gotta have an all outfit sometimes, babe.
I think where it gets where the questions come from with me and Nova's relationship is I need what I need as a person due to my own things is I need affection. And that can mean a bunch of different things. It could mean, you know, cuddling, or it could mean telling me, you know, like with words, it could, whatever. And Nova is not a person that's like that. Is not an overly affectionate person. Sorry, what?
You know what your love language is?
What does that mean?
Oh my God.
Okay, well that will solve a lot of your problem.
First things first. The creator of love languages, we found out, is very homophobic.
Yeah.
But what he originally had to say still makes sense, and we can still talk about it. But I did want to address the fact that he's very homophobic.
So you don't have to support the products, but the information is really good. So I got told about it. The basic idea is this person created that there are these 5 different ways that you accept and enjoy it in your own self in a relationship. Touching, like physical contact, services, and like chores being done.
Yeah,
and so there's these 5 different
words of affirmation,
physical touch, quality time, gifts, and acts of service.
Yes. And so the idea is, I mean, sucks that can't use the products, because like we have had the phone apps where we each linked up and we could every day, every week, whatever time frame you wanted, put in your tank. How much love do I have in my tank today, right now, this time frame? And you could check in on each other. And if it was services, you could actually create a list. Like, I need this stuff to get done. And like, you could check it off.
Yeah.
If it was reminders for like, tell them that you're proud of them or whatever, tell them to touch, like the app. And the original thing that I found was a book.
Yeah.
Where the book, the idea of the book was that you were supposed to buy this book.
Has a little quiz.
Actually, I'm sorry, buy 2 books.
Yeah. Your partner
and you
has
both read it at the same
Capitalism.
time.
Yeah.
And then at the end, you took the quiz.
And you came back to each other and you said, hey, this is what I have.
Yeah. And it worked because
I have like a disease.
Fuck off.
We used that app while I was in Japan.
Oh, yeah.
So jumping back in the story a little bit, we were supposed to break up when I went to Japan. Yes,
how'd that work out?
Didn't happen. I got there and I was like, I think we can try this.
And honestly, and I don't know if you know this, but like from my end,
I love that. I love my boss with that.
My boss and who is basically my we did talk about this.
Yeah.
My boss and like essentially my second father, which is a whole other night of discussion.
Oh, honey. Okay.
And like one of my good best friends.
What it's about, and we can decide if you want to be on the podcast version of.
One of my other best friends, who's in my groomsmen party, she is like my person I go to like vent about life.
I'm gonna have to pause you right there, because are you the person that Joe is marrying?
Yeah, he is.
Oh, I would, because you've been calling him your person. I didn't assume that this was your fiance person.
Oh yeah.
Oh, this is the individual I'm marrying on May 4th.
Yes.
That is on me.
Yeah.
Y'all been here an hour.
She has.
I was gonna say, how did you not catch that? But
I was thinking. So here's the thing. I was like,
oh my God, we don't have time.
I was sitting here like this. I was literally questioning myself, but never saying the thing because, like, I was like, I don't want to be embarrassed, but like, here it is now. But I was just like, they've been together for a while for this to not be the person she's marrying.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was like, who is she marrying if this is the person she was with before she went to Japan?
So I have now. So now, I think we never had names for it, but I think we do know, like in our own relationship, what our love language is and like how what we need and how we express it to each other. I think the thing is that due to our own personalities and due to it, that there are things that the other is incapable of doing or being. And that's where we want to, and that's fine. And that's fair, but that doesn't mean we love each other any less. And we want to be with don't want to be with each other, because that's where it gets, and that's where the polyamory started coming up, was because I am not an overly sexual being, whereas Nova is.
Yeah.
And Nova is not an overly emotional being, whereas I am. So we wanted to find a way to introduce those aspects that we were missing. I hate that word missing, but like that, those aspects that we needed that the other couldn't get, like this relationship couldn't give this unit. We wanted to introduce it in other ways, but do it in a way that we were both okay with.
And I do want to tell you, you don't have to hate the word missing.
Okay.
There is nothing intrinsic, like it's not a failure for somebody to not be able to meet some specific need that you have. That's not a failure on that person's part. That's not a failure on your part. And that's not a failure of your relationship. That is just one way in which you're not that compatible. Nobody is going to be hyper compatible in every fucking facet of who you are.
And if you are, that's how snapped happens. It's too close, too similar.
Because and Nova, said a little bit back in the chat that they are hypersexual thanks to trauma. And
whereas I'm hyper emotional thanks to trauma.
and I want to point out a couple of things. Number one, because we were talking about love languages. Love languages are 100% informed by like trauma, your childhood, like everything that you were raised with. If you didn't get a whole lot of time with your parents, if you didn't get a whole lot of quality time with your parents or a whole lot of touch with your parents, but you got a lot of gifts and you got a lot of like words of affirmation, the words of affirmation and the gifts aren't going to mean as much to you as quality time and physical touch are going to mean to you, because that is something you were lacking in your childhood. And that is something you were lacking in other relationships. So like it's very much just about like making up for deficits. So like for me, like my parents told me all the time that, oh, I love you. Oh, blah, 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 this, blah, 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 that. But their actions and sometimes their words told me other things. Like I have a vivid memory of me like because I had to come out to my parents 4 separate times. Yeah. Okay. So let me go into that because those faces.
I was like, did I get it the first time?
Well, I know Emily has heard this, but has probably forgotten it because she's had a whole ass kid since. But
my brain is Swiss cheese.
I still live for the fact the day that you came into the chat and you were like, so I have ADHD, and I was like, yeah, you didn't know? I'm sorry, what?
All my friends were like, duh. I was like, yo.
But and it was never from a malicious part on my
No, I know. They were all like, no, really, I thought you knew.
I thought you fucking knew. Yeah. But yeah, so like I have a vivid memory of like at one point when I was like reckoning with shit, like asking my dad, if I married a man, would you be there? And he was like, probably not, especially if you got married in the church. And I had to come out to my parents 4 separate times. The first time I came out to them, okay, let's run back a little bit. When I was 7 years old, I had a dream about a school dance where I was dancing with a boy, and he kissed me very softly. It was very chaste and sweet. And I woke up.
And I just made the same face, like.
And I woke up and I was happy for about 5 seconds. And then I started crying because I was so hyper aware, because I was raised in the church. I was raised in the South. Like I was hyper aware of the fact that that wasn't okay.
Yep.
And I just realized a couple of days ago that like the reason I had that dream was because of the Casper movie with Christina Ricci.
Shut up.
It was a full "can I keep you" moment.
This is a good pull. I feel like that was a lot of people's sexual awakening for
no, that was not my
either other women or ghosts.
That was not my sexual awakening. That was my romantic awakening. Like, let's be 100% clear.
That's
like,
what I meant.
I know, but like, I'm just saying, like, but yeah, so like, I have been aware of the fact that I was queer even before I had words for it. And then I was bullied for being queer before I had words for it.
Mm-hmm.
So like, when I was coming to terms with these things, I thought that they were wrong because of everything that I had experienced. So the first time I came out to my parents, I was like 12, and I wasn't even really trying to come out to them. I was like practicing coming out to them. And it was like on like a fucking camcorder, because this is back in the fucking day. It was on like a camcorder, and they discovered it. And they like pulled me aside and they were like, you said this on here? That's not right. You know, this is because X, Y, and Z. Because I was, trigger warning, mute me if you don't, you mute the feed if you don't want to hear about sexual assault. I was raped when I was, let me do the math again, because for a long time my brain fucked it up to protect me. And I realized a little bit ago that like, that's not how that works. My brother was 16 we are 5 years apart. So I had to be like 10, 11 years. I was like 10, 11 years old. And I was raped. And it was a stranger, which is super fucking rare. But that happened. Or it's rare for kids. Yeah, it's rare for kids to have that experience. But it was a stranger, and that happened. And when I first, like, it took me I waited until the statute of limitations was up before I told my parents, and it wasn't like an active decision to wait for the statute of limitations.
Yeah.
I would have never told them had I not been caught looking at pornography. And like, that's the thing, is like, I was bullied for being queer before I knew what it was. And I was sexually assaulted by someone of my same gender. At the time, I identified as a man or as a boy because I didn't know there was anything else. But at the time, when you look up gay, when I went into Google and like gay, what is gay? Gay men. All I was faced with was porn.
Yeah.
That's still, unfortunately, that is still fucking true, which is it's a whole other conversation.
It is still a big thing, but I will say now, if you type in, because I've checked it, if you type in specifically what is gay, you will be faced with GLAAD, Glisten, Trevor Project. Like you will be faced with queer resources before you will be faced with queer porn, which is very good. But at the time I was going through this, the first thing I encountered was queer porn. And so all of that was happening. The sexual assault happened. And Twitch, if you flag us for this, I am coming for you. This is educational and this is important. But yeah, 100%, like, I had all of those experiences. So for a very long time, I was hypersexual. And, you know, pretty recently, like in the last year or two, I've been interrogating that, and I've discovered that I'm really not that sexual. Like, a lot of my encounters have been because someone wanted to engage in that with me, not necessarily because I wanted to engage in that. And those encounters, I want to say this, like, those encounters were not bad. Those encounters were not painful or wrong for me, but I didn't necessarily get a whole lot of enjoyment out of it. Like, I enjoyed the fact that someone wanted to spend that time with me and enjoy me in that way, but I didn't necessarily enjoy that exchange.
I feel that.
And hypersexuality for some people doesn't bother them. And that is perfectly valid. Like, if you enjoy those experiences, if you want to continue doing that, and as long as you are doing that in safe, sane, consensual ways, more power to you, baby. Experience it, do it, everything you want to do, everything your partners want to do, explore it. But for me in particular, like, I want those experiences to be enthusiastic and wholehearted. And I'm sure that my partners do as well. And so, like, I've kind of like really scaled back in the kind of, you know, sexual things that I do with other people. And
that was when you were talking about being on the ace spectrum.
Yeah, 100%. Like, and demisexuality is technically on the ace spectrum. And for me, like, I kind of like sexually identify as like queer ace flex is kind of where I sit. But yeah, and like the thing about hypersexuality is that as long as you're doing it safely and responsibly, it's not a problem, as long as it's not a problem for you or your partners.
So like circling back to like in polyamory, like in terms of like what the options are, or like, no, I don't know how to put this.
I was like, what's the options? Which bubble do you click?
Like,
well, I mean, like there are.
And we talked about that at the beginning. We talked.
Yeah, it's just funny to call them options.
Yeah, options.
We talked just to catch Joe up. We've talked about monogamish. We've talked about open. We've talked about closed triads, open triads, and full-on constellations, and like full force polyamory.
But there's also something called so there's two other categories of polyamory that I kept running into, where you have hierarchical polyamory. And
we did
RA.
kind of.
We talked about that a little bit, and Lex does not like it.
Are you RA?
But they did preference it with my opinion.
Right. It's my personal opinion that I am not super into whatever pronunciation. I am not into prioritized polyamory, because it can become really damaging even without meaning to. Yes. Because you're saying, this is the partner that I am prioritizing over anybody else and their emotional well-being. And especially if that is not made expressly clear from the beginning, it can get very damaging, because it's like, it's like that right of first refusal rule that a lot of poly couples or open couples have, which is where, hey, I want to hook up with this person. And if your partner says no, that's it. Like, you can't. And like, I don't like that, because number one, it says that your partner gets to have a ruling and a say over your expression of your sexuality and your autonomy over your body. And it also like doesn't feel good to the other person. Like, let's say you're already hooking up with that person and you're doing the thing, but your partner gets threatened by the connection that you're starting to experience with that other person. And they're like, no, I'm uncomfortable. You have to end this. Like, I don't like that, because it's not good to the other person. And if you're straight up with that other person from the beginning and they say that they're okay with it, I don't get to have an opinion on that, because that's your experience and that's your relationship and you get to do what you want to do. But for me personally, I don't engage in that kind of polyamory. It exists and people are 100% allowed to do it. I don't like it.
Here's where this is where
what was Joe gonna say? Wait.
Yeah, well, yeah, Joe.
So that was okay. So Lex is very clearly in the relationship anarchy category.
Yeah.
Just full blown, you don't need to know. Like, I was going to try to define the two. You don't need to know the definition about RA. That is Lex's like clear stance. I practice both because of the different relationships or the different relationships I was a part of. Yeah. But there were some that clearly RA was golden, and that's how we functioned. And then there were other ones that I had that there were hierarchy. Mm-hmm. And so why I was trying to get to this is because it's dealing directly with your situation, that you are a married couple opening things up and trying to figure out what partner is going to fit well for you guys. Mm-hmm. And along the way, all of this communicate. Yeah. I say that now constantly with him on everything, that I'm like, we need to communicate better. Like, we need to like tie up these loose ends. Like, those people need to be communicating better. Like, their problems would be solved if they just fucking talked about it.
Yeah.
God, that's me on every sitcom ever. Just talk to each other.
and
yeah, it's why I can't stand a lot of shows. I'm like, this would be solved if they just fucking talk to each other.
I am so.
But here's the thing, though.
Hey, so all three of you were talking. I want Joe to finish what she was saying.
Oh, so RA and hierarchy can work with you and Nova. It depends on what you guys need and what is comfortable for the partners you find. A quad might be best for you because you are going to need someone distinctly different than what Nova needs. There's nothing wrong with that. And why I say hierarchy might be good for you, so you and they stay connected and can communicate solidly and know that you are each other's foundation to move out from there.
And so what I would say about that, like specifically, like for me and like in general, I can also teeter and run the gambit is like, ooh, what's he feeding you?
Ice cream.
Thin Mint.
Give me some. No, but for me, so like
That's so Nova just is literally asking the question that I was going to ask.
Not be hierarchical if you're married on paper. And so for me, I definitely, prioritize. We get to experience what we want to experience, but we're talking to each other about it. And for me is like, if I have a long-standing relationship with that person, if I have already decided that this is somebody that I want in my life for the rest of my life, regardless of whether it's sexual or romantic or friendship, I'm going to, prioritize that relationship in that I am going to, be more willing to talk through things with them. And I'm going to be more willing to take criticism and concerns from them than I would be a new partner. If it's, somebody new that so far I'm just hooking up with or just starting to hang out with, and either they're being problematic or they are taking issue with my partner on things that aren't an issue, I'll say bye to them very quickly, which could be considered hierarchical. For me, the reason that I would hesitate to call it hierarchical is that I am not saying I am protecting this relationship at the cost of any other relationship. And that to me is the cornerstone of a hierarchical thing, which can be 100% valid and is like anybody is welcome to do that. For me, it's not the move because especially given my own trauma and given the way that I was raised, like I am done being told how I'm supposed to live my life and the way that I'm supposed to develop relationships.
So that's all there. That's all fair. And I totally understand that. I think something that you had mentioned before about like, if your partner is not comfortable with you seeing that person, I feel like they should be, especially in mine and Nova's case, I feel like I should have a say in the relationship that they're going to be engaging in with another person, because that we are
and there is a
hierarchical.
There is a difference between having your thoughts and feelings considered and having veto rights.
Yeah, I'm not saying like I guess the veto thing is not what I would want.
Right. No, 100%. Like you know this person, this person is your life partner. This person is somebody you have intimate knowledge of. And you might Art Pendragon Bacon. Who's talking about bacon? You might have insights that they don't see. They may be glancing over problematic behaviors of that person, and 100% you should be able to say, hey babe, they have done this, they have said this, and that does not feel right to me. It doesn't feel safe for me or you. Maybe consider this versus no, you can't see them. Emily, your hand is raised.
Yes. Sorry, I never know when I can get an word in edgewise, but also I don't want to dominate the conversation. As far as Nicole, what you are specifically asking, the idea that there is like a hierarchical relationship tier system. I think what the difference between just like a hierarchical polyamorous relationship where we are the two, you are my main partner. Like, let's say you and I were married, Nicole. We could only dream.
I mean, let's be honest. We do dream about that.
Let's be honest. But as far as like, let's pretend that you and I are married and we are polyamorous. If we were in a hierarchical relationship, it would be more like you and I are the main couple. If you are out with one of your boyfriends or girlfriends and I call you and say, hey, I need you home right now, you drop what you're doing and come home because I am your main person. Now, can be fucked up. It can be fucked up if the person like that you are seeing, like if your dates are just dates, just people you hang out with, friends with benefits, basically, then yeah, absolutely. Drop their ass. Come see me. I'm having a bad day. But if your relationships with those people are deep, intimate relationships, which you would need because you are demisexual, you would need that deep, intimate connection. So let's say you and I are in a relationship, we're polyamorous, and let's say you are out on a date with Nova. you love Nova, obviously, like deeply. You love me deeply because we're married in this scenario. So it would be unfair of me to say, hey, I've had a bad day. Drop Nova. Come hang out with me because I'm your main person. You married me. That's not okay. And it's not okay to Nova as well. So I think the difference when it comes to hierarchical is how intimate you are with them. Like, yeah, a fling, a date, yeah, that's whatever. If they start becoming weird, or maybe my partner like is like, hey, I don't really like them. They are like freaking me out. They're giving me weird vibes. Totally different thing. If this is someone that I like, you are deeply committed to, like you are deeply committed to Nova, it would be completely unfair of me to ask you to prioritize me over Nova. So I think that you can have more than one person at that top tier if we're going for hierarchical reasons.
Right.
But like lower tiered, you can still have relationships on that lower tier. I just think that you, as a demisexual, which we just got a question in the chat, what is a demisexual? Demisexual is someone who needs an intimate connection, like a emotional connection,
intimate connection with,
in order to feel sexual feelings. So if they go on a date, that can be instant, that can be over a course of a time period, but in order for them to feel any sort of sexual
like, yeah,
they need to have an intimate emotional connection as well.
As a person, well, see, that's the thing. Like, that's where you get this person saying, like, to me, that sounds like what any relationship should be. That's a fair thing to say. But
no,
where
I
mean, it's not. But like, so where people go wrong is that they think of relationships as the normative way, and it's not. Relationships are a complete spectrum. And that's kind of part of the conversation we're having. So me as a demisexual, when I found out that word, what it means to me is it made sense looking back through all of my sexual encounters and relationships, where I felt the most enjoyment in the relationship or the sexual encounter was with the people that I had a strong emotional connection to. And and that's what that means to me. So I've been in relationships where I felt a strong connection to the person, but it was a bad relationship. Like, you can,
whereas
that doesn't,
we have the other end of the spectrum, which is me. Whereas I have some stories I could tell. No, but I develop sexual feelings. I can develop sexual feelings for someone without them even like fucking speaking to me. And 9 times out of 10, please do not. I am here for one reason. So like,
I'm here for a good time, not a long time.
So please do not speak to me, because it's probably gonna be something stupid, and then I'm gonna be like, because I'm the opposite. If I start developing like emotional feelings for you, sexual feelings generally start to wane. So and that's the other end of that spectrum for me.
I mean, like, I feel like I'm like smack dab in the middle, that like my sexuality will rear its head and I'll just be like, whoa, girl, hold up. Like, and with him, like it's kind of like this funny thing of like, had a thing for sensei. Well, technically, yes. Like the very first class I ever had at that dojo, before I started working there or anything, scared out of my mind, trying to work through trauma and all this. I walk in, I'm like, he's really cute. I would not do anything because I have to be appropriate and be a good student right now. What shit is going on with me?
Right.
Girl, control yourself.
Pendragon, you're saying my view is that relationships shouldn't be your traditional gender roles, but just between love and love. And what you are describing is a romantic partnership. To me, what I understand about that is that it is a romantic partnership. What we are talking about is that there are multiple different types of relationships. There is familial relationships, there are professional relationships, there are sexual relationships, there are romantic relationships. None of those things have to have anything to do with the other, and all of those things can be structured incredibly differently or incredibly similarly. Some people are able to have sexual relationships that have absolutely nothing to do with emotion, that are just, you do this real good and I like the way we do it together, so let's keep doing it.
Yeah.
Some people can't do it that way. Some people have to have the romantic aspect of it, where this is something we do, maybe not necessarily just with each other, but we really like doing it with each other. And we also respect each other as people and want to have like conversations about things other than our physical pleasure. And like, yeah, like there's all kinds of ways to have relationships. And 100%, I believe that if you are having a romantic relationship, fuck a gender role in general.
Yes.
Like, it doesn't matter if it's a relationship or not. Fuck a gender role. I'm sitting here in lashes and full makeup, like fuck a gender role. But you are speaking specifically about a romantic partnership, whereas we are speaking on several different types of relationships.
Yeah.
And that the fact that there are several different types of relationships.
Right.
And
So-
Jalen raised his hand.
Specifically, there was we talked about Joe's photography installation that we went to go see. Yeah, it is art, but specifically photography installation that we went to go see, where it was called, I'm sorry, forgive me, I might butcher this. It was 8 filters, 1 lens.
Yes.
Period.
Yeah.
Period.
Hell yeah. Fuck you, ADHD. But 8 filters, 1 lens, which
likes it.
which Joe, I don't know if you want to describe it again, but it's what it's based off of specifically.
Yeah,
the
so
8 different.
Following the Eightfold Path of Buddhism and matching it up with the 8 types of love, to then describe how a person finds themselves in key relationships in their life.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to actually have different kinds of love in your life to understand who you are.
Fully, yeah.
Yes.
And I actually, if you, Joe, I want to get your consent before we do this, but I did find that picture that I got. So, and I sent it to Nova. Is it okay if they put it up so we can see it and you can kind of tell us what?
I had clothes on in that one. I don't care.
Okay, good. Yeah.
There were so many other ones, but I
made sure.
Do you really quick
Nova,
question?
can you
Do
put it
you
up?
have like a website where you display that art, or is it like
naked art?
Apparently I broke the link for it. I went and checked because I knew I was going to talk about it on this.
I love that.
I broke the link. So I need to fix it. And yes, I will have that live again.
Yeah.
Fix it.
Love that photo.
Please fix it, and I will share it on my Twitter. And I definitely want to, because I have another friend, Silas, who is non-binary, agender, polyamorous. I want to do a fuller conversation about this just between the 3 of us, because they are somebody who is AFAB, but like androgynously presenting, like they flip-flop between masc and femme, but they are trans masc. I'm trans femme and non-binary, and you are cis. So I definitely, and we all have varying degrees of experience with polyamory. So I want to have this discussion again, just between the 3 of us.
That's fine. Yeah,
absolutely.
Wow, the picture, it's so beautiful.
I know. Okay, so can you tell us about this picture and like which one of the filters that it's supposed to be?
Which one did that go in? Pretty sure that went in Eros.
Mm-hmm.
Would make sense.
No, it doesn't make sense because I have clothes on.
It's not agape.
Not platonic, because you can always see my profile in platonic.
Okay, so let me just describe what this.
No. It's Unfortunate Lover, which I'm forgetting the love.
I know what you're talking about, though. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No, that one went in Unfortunate Lover because you can never see my face in any of those photos.
It's specifically like unrequited.
Yeah, and so whenever I was talking about that kind of relationship, it's the ones that you have and you wanted it to be successful, but then it falls apart. You have no hard feelings and you grew, but you just couldn't stay together.
Yeah.
That's like the relationship that I had the one right before Nova. That's like literally what happened. Like we both genuinely wanted to be with each other and we worked well together and all that stuff, but it just didn't happen. Like we're still friends. Like it didn't end badly. It was just something that we were just like, you know what? It's not working. Yeah. And that's okay.
Yeah. 100%.
Mm-hmm. Galen, what were you trying to say earlier?
Oh,
yes, please.
So
I'm sorry.
The relationship with like that connections must be needed and like
demisexuality
roles.
Yes.
One of my favorite examples of how a relationship doesn't need that and like order can be rearranged is one of my parents' good friends from college. He is in his like early 50s, met a woman. They're both cis hetero. Mm-hmm. And they just had a great relationship. They were just totally friends. And then I think it went into a sexual relationship, but honestly, no idea. And they got married solely to because the woman in the relationship, because I'm trying not to use names, the woman in the relationship, her dad was really sick. And so they got married literally to use his insurance because he's like a high manager in the post office. So he got that federal money and that good insurance. And so they just got married for literally legal reasons.
Yeah. America.
And then
America.
That helped her father like live for a while because it was supposed to look like it wasn't going to happen. And so he got to like live and spend more time with her, and they essentially then developed a romantic relationship. And then when he finally like the time happened and he passed, her dad passed, like they were like, well, cool. And they are essentially in love.
Yeah, want to keep doing this thing.
Great relationship, but like it totally was backwards and not traditional at all.
Yeah. That kind of makes me think of, so I've in my own head, due to all the stuff that's been going on between myself and Nova and the things that are changing in our world, I've the thing that my brain does due to PTSD is I think about every single possible scenario that could happen. I go like, I Doctor Strange that shit, like where I have the 14 million different outcomes. And one of those outcomes in my head that I am trying to work around is what happens if Nova and I are no longer attracted to each other, but we still genuinely love each other and don't want to then, like, don't want to divorce, don't want to like end the relationship.
Nicole,
we're just we just can redefine the relationship.
Yeah.
Right here. Be in me for a second. Because what I'm going to 100% be in me, because what I'm going to tell you is that if you two are no longer sexually attracted to one another, that will never sever the romantic attraction that you have. Your sexual attraction and your romantic attraction to each other is not linked. Those things are separate and they happen to coincide right now. But if you two, if Nova goes through this transition and if they go on hormones and decide to surgically transition and they're no longer attracted to you for whatever, or you're no longer attracted to them for whatever, or both things are true, that's not going to erase all of the experiences you have together. That's not going to erase all of the hardships that you face together and all of the emotion that you share for each other. It is not going to erase your love. It never could.
Yo, I wish you were here like 2 days ago when I had like a literal nervous breakdown because of that.
Well, babe, you should have fucking texted me. but no,
That's
Because
my-
at the end of the
that-
day, like there are asexual polyamorous people.
100%. A lot of asexual people who experience romantic attraction are poly because they realize sexual contact is something that their partner needs that they are not interested in giving. So 100% go get that, babe.
I've been trying to coach a friend of mine through that exact situation, that their spouse was like, I think I'm asexual. I know we've had kids together, but and he's like, wow, crap, I didn't mean to do that. But then my friend is like, oh, but I love you.
I still want the thing. I want the thing.
And so for my friend, they are trying to figure out like how ethical non-monogamy will work for them, because they love their spouse so much, but their spouse is like, go do your thing. And they're like, but yeah. And so it's,
yeah, I literally think that that's where the two of us are getting like in our heads about it, and that's what's making us so confused about what we need and what we want and how to go about it, is because it like we've been so convinced about our monogamy for so long and not knowing what all these other things mean and what they can be, that it's gotten us into this headspace of like, well, this means we're cheating, or this means we're like, then jealousy can come into the mix and all that kind of stuff.
okay, jealousy is a natural emotion and it will occur.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah.
And we communicate through it to understand what is actually going on underneath it, because jealousy is masking something else.
That's what we talked about.
We talked about that, yeah.
Emily, your hand is up.
Emily, what?
Yes, you can still cheat in a polyamorous relationship.
Yes, you can.
And the thing is, the key is in monogamous and polyamorous relationships. The key is communication. And here's the thing.
I'm sorry. I'm loud. I woke
Here's the thing. If you don't, or if you feel like if you are doing something at any point that you are not specifically not telling your partner about,
right,
you would feel bad if they found out, that's cheating. Yep. It doesn't matter if you're poly, monogamous, asexual, whatever, aromantic, whatever you are doing. If you are in a relationship with somebody and you're doing something that you would feel
very
bad and
specifically, if you are doing something that you very specifically decide not, there's a difference between forgetting to tell your partner or not thinking it's important and specifically deciding not to tell them.
Yes, that.
That's the difference. You gotta just communicate.
Izzy says, Izzy pops in to raise hand as an ace poly. Also relationship euphoria, which is something absolutely 100%. And like relationship euphoria relates back to compersion, relates back to, feeling happiness because your partner is happy and like feeling just fulfilled and being very happy in the knowledge that you and your partner are solid and you're doing the things you need to do. And it's okay if the knowledge that your relationship is solid isn't consistent. It is okay to doubt those things and ask for that confirmation, because we are all very complex individuals with very complex histories. Again, like I've covered, one of my partners and I, we have some similar traumas, some very different traumas, and very different histories with relationships, but also very similar histories in some aspects. And so for her, she very much needs intentional inclusion. And I very much am used to being an afterthought. And there are ways that her partner would her ex would, or her abuser. Let me just say it. Her fucking abuser would weaponize things. He would say if you want to.
I fucking hate that.
And so
that's a trigger.
But
oh my God.
And that's
I'm the same way.
And that's a trigger for her. But for me, because my default is people not being interested in me or what I'm doing, I am not used to people wanting to be a part of things. So when I'm like, oh, you know, like this is a thing I'm doing, and they're like, oh, like, do you want me to be there? And I'm like, yeah, if you want to, because like I'm not used to people wanting to be a part of things, and I am used. And what I used to do was have to beg people to do things and have to like beg for those things. So I'm not used to people wanting to be a part of that and people wanting to take part in my life or the things that bring me joy. So like for me, I very much come from a place of assuming you aren't interested or like you're ambivalent. So like for me, it's very much.
Call it for that your partner has? What is it?
Incursion.
No. The thing where they need to be included. What was it called? You called it. You said something very specific. You said that it's like intentional inclusion, or I can't remember the word.
Yeah. Like she needs very. I mean, like that's not like a technical term.
Yeah, no, but I couldn't remember the words that you used because in my head that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, she needs intentional inclusion. Even with things like Bayonetta, like me streaming Bayonetta, where I will publicly be like, hey, if you want to do the thing, like come like see me do the thing. Like sometimes she needs to be reminded that no, like specifically, like I would love to have her there. Like sometimes she needs that reminder, and like that's okay. But it's also important for her to communicate that to me so that she's not harboring resentment about the fact that I'm not intentionally saying, hey, if you would like to come, I would love to have you. And that's the thing. It's all about like reframing and trying to think about that, because like you met her, like we went to New York Comic Con together.
Oh, the one who was Margot.
Yes.
I loved her. She was great.
She's amazing.
See, now I totally get it because we vibed very well right off the bat, and I only met her for like 5 seconds, and now I know why.
Yes, 100%. And so like there was one point.
But again, I'm easy, so.
There was one point where like we were trying to like meet a photographer because they had wanted to take a picture of us in our Margot and Elliot cosplays. But
which was?
You didn't see my desert Elliot.
I didn't. I saw you the day before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You saw me the day before. But like we did Desert Elliot and Desert Margot. And there was a photographer that like wanted to take pictures of us, and like we had headed back to the Javits Center and they had already left, and like they were just poor at communicating. But we were also supposed to meet one of my friends who lived in New York, and we were like trying to figure this shit out. And she was like, I don't know, because she had the axes and they were heavy and blah, blah, blah. But like, she was like, there was something going on. And she was like, basically it came down to like her, like we were trying to figure it out. I know. I'm sorry. Like I said that this wasn't going to end.
We know, Nova.
We know. Like
just trust us. We know.
I said to make this segment 3 hours.
Nova, if you need to go to bed, baby. I have mod powers, so don't worry about it.
They can't unless they sleep on the couch in their office, which doesn't have any room because it's.
Are you in the bedroom?
Yeah, that's where my laptop is.
God damn it! Switch locations.
Anyway. We can wrap it up like here in the next, let's say like 20-ish minutes. Let's try to.
But yeah, there was very much a moment where, you know, she was, you know, feeling a type of way and saying a type of thing. And I was like, no, like if you want to, like, yeah. And we had a moment right there where, you know, she was like, hey, and I was like, no, like literally like, this is what's happening for me. Like, yes, I would love for you to meet Red, and I would love for us to do this together if you want to do it. Like, and like, it's that, like, there are some ways that fundamentally our shit butts heads. And we have to be aware of that, and we have to communicate that. And like, that's the whole reason that you have such open and honest communication. And that's one thing that I say about myself is that largely I'm a very open person, but I'm not always a very honest person, in that like, I can tell you about things that I've gone through, and I can tell you things that I'm going through currently, but that doesn't mean I'm going to tell you what I'm feeling about that. Like, it's very much a fact of like, somebody's like, how are you doing? I'm like, I'm managing, like this, and this are happening, but I'm not telling you that like this is causing my suicidal ideation to tick up, or this is causing me to doubt this, or this. Like, I'm just saying, this is what's happening. Whatever.
So when it comes, so like, from what I'm understanding, from what everyone's talked about and like all that stuff, like the fundamental tenet is communication all across the board.
Like
Yep.
the biggest fucking Broadway sign in the most beautiful lights imaginable, communication.
Fuck a Broadway.
The truth.
Fuck a Broadway. You know what this is? This is a goddamn motherfucking Fantastic Four blasted across the multiverse sort of shit. Like,
yeah, it needs to be like Sky written by a plane.
Is this some like old school Billy Joel? Tell her about it.
Truly.
It's like when you, for this is something that happened with me. Is whenever I leaned fully into the polyamory, and I allowed myself to start having more open communication with those that I felt love towards, my communication with everyone improved. And I stopped accepting bullshit.
Hello.
We love to see it.
And it gets really messy for me, and this conversation will probably be better in
we'll do it.
Version. Just real quick, like the reason my longest term polyamorous relationship went downhill is because communication broke down. Was not me breaking it down. I was still trying to force the communication, and that isn't something that needs to be forced.
You cannot, and that's the thing. It is the same in physicality, emotionality, and just communication in general. Like it should not have to be forced. If you are having to force it, that person isn't putting forth the effort.
You're not meeting 100% to 100%. Yeah, sorry. And I got myself distracted with that joke. I apologize. I am so tired. This week has been nuts.
I'm sorry. No, but we were talking about you're not meeting 100% to 100%. Yeah.
And so if one person is trying to force more energy when there's none, like it's building toxicity. And that's a situation that needs to be walked away from.
And to clarify, 100% to 100% doesn't mean that you're always on the same page, because going back to, we all have different traumas. We all have different levels of spoons. 100% to 100% doesn't mean they bring this thing up and we talk about it right then. 100% to 100% means we are giving an honest effort. So if, person A says, hey, this thing happened and I'm feeling this way about it and I really need to talk about it. If person B does not have the spoons to talk about it because they're going through X, Y, or Z, the important thing is to not invalidate that and not be like, okay, well, we don't need to talk about it right now. It is to say, I love you and I want to talk about this with you, but I cannot do it right now. Like, it's just about being open and honest and then making time for it. You have to, if they are bringing something to you that they need to talk to you about and you can't do it, and if you honestly cannot do it in that moment, which happens, it's happened to me. I'm sure it's happened to Joe. I'm sure it's happened to any number of partnerships, monogamous or polyamorous, regardless.
Sometimes certain conversations require a certain level of respect to be paid to them. And sometimes you just don't have the spoons to pay that. And that's okay. Exactly. I'd rather you wait.
Exactly. And that's the thing. So like, if you don't have the spoons in that moment, it's important to be honest about that so that you don't just enter into that conversation half-heartedly, but then you say, okay, I don't have the spoons for this right now. And I want to fully honor what you're feeling and what you need to communicate to me. And obviously, like, you don't have to say that verbatim, but like, that's the spirit of what you need to be saying. But then what's very important is that when you wake up the next day, the day after that, you need to be evaluating, what do I have to do today on a professional and health level? Do I have enough time and spoons to dedicate to that conversation? Every time you wake up, you need to be doing that. And even if you can do it before that, if you have your schedule laid out and you know, I have to be at work at this day, I have this appointment to keep this day, like evaluate that and be like, okay, so this day is very light for me. I should be able to do it. Let's put a pin in it for that day. And then when you wake up that morning, you know, if you have physical ailments or mental illness, whatever you have, when you wake up that morning, evaluate, this is how I'm feeling. This is what I have to do today. Do I still have the spoons to have this conversation?
Okay. So now knowing that communication is the number one tenet, if the communication is there, if you both know what you need and what your expectations are, and the willingness is there to let these things happen. So in mine and Nova's case, and I'm speaking for you only because this is what I understand you want.
And Nova, feel free to say,
feel free to jump in.
You're wrong.
So Nova needs more. Nova needs I have the power of chat. Nova needs a more sexual experiences, and I need a relationship.
Yeah. Okay, wait. So let's not say you need a relationship.
Okay.
Let's say you need more.
I need romance.
You need more. You need
intimate emotional.
Like Nova needs more physical connection.
Yes.
You need more emotional validation.
Okay. Yes. So say Nova says to me that they need more physical connections and they want it with, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to have that with one specific person, blah, blah, blah. It could mean several different partners. And I'm cool with that. Fine. That's what you need. That's fine. And then I say to them, well, I need more emotional connection. And that could be with a couple of people, or it could be with one. It could lead to being with one person or whatever. Like, say all of that is there and then communicate. Everyone's fine. Everyone's good. Everyone's happy. We're good. Like, then it's just about maintaining that.
Mm-hmm.
The communication and the parameters, and that everyone's doing it safely. Because I think one of Nova's things were, are you concerned about STIs? And I was like, well, I am, because I'm not the one that's going to be necessarily engaging in more physical pursuits. But
still at the end of the day, like, it is important.
Yeah.
It's 100% important, but like, I also don't think Nova's going to be out here raw dogging. Like,
I should.
No. And that's like not ever the plan.
That is also a boundary that 100% I agree with. Like, that's the thing. Like, that is one of my, I'm not big on like imposing rules on my partners or whatever. My two rules are be smart, be safe.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you cannot safe sex is smart. And 100%, you cannot be out here just, no, I don't care. Just do whatever you want. Because if you aren't regularly doing things with me, like, whatever, you take risks with your health, but you are not only taking risks with your health, you're taking risks with my health. You are taking risks with every other person that you're doing things with. Absolutely fucking not.
Yeah.
Not only from an STI level, there's fucking COVID. There's fucking there's so many other things that can be communicated sexually. Yeah. Like, it's not just, because here's the thing, destigmatize STIs. I've had chlamydia, I've had gonorrhea. You take a round of fucking antibiotics and it's gone. Like,
90% of the population all has a form of herpes. Like,
right, 100%. And you can transfer herpes from your mouth to someone's genitals. Like, that's a thing that can happen. It happened to a relative of mine. I will not specifics, but it happened to a relative of mine. And
also, if Nova
she cried to me and she felt dirty and she felt wrong and she was so hurt by it. And I was like, baby, it is, first of all, you didn't, like, I did tell her that I was like, I have always told you to wear condoms and be safe, and you didn't do that. But you are not dirty. You are not less worthy. You aren't a bad person because this happened to you.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Like, should you have made more considerations? Sure. But like, this
Radical
isn't the
acceptance, baby.
this isn't the end of the fucking world. And then, you know, when she got like fully tested and like got the full panel back, it's herpes simplex 1. It's fucking cold sores that was communicated to her.
Which literally, I'm not kidding you, my doctor told me like 90% of the population has.
Yes, literally, like her partner communicated that to her because he had a sore on his mouth that he was unaware of when he went down on her. And that's why it got communicated to her. And that's why it manifested there at that time. And her doctor told her that like, this probably won't ever manifest there again. If it ever manifests again, it'll probably manifest on your mouth because that's its natural place.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I have one last question.
Yeah.
It's the only other question that I have. And I already discussed this with Emily, and she said to bring it to the chat. That would be a good idea to bring it to the chat. So I was having dreams multiple days in a row. This has never happened to me, about the same person. Mm-hmm. And it was of a romantic nature. That wasn't my spouse. Love you, Nova, but sometimes that happens. I dream about Zac Efron all the time. But this is a real life. This is a real life
person that you have.
A real life person that I know, I'm friends with, and I didn't know that I was attracted to them in this way until I started having these dreams, and I would wake up and be like, "Am I in love with this person?" Like not in love, but like, am I attracted to this person in this way? And I said to Emily, because they know who I'm talking about, I was like, do you think like if we ever entered into this polyamorous thing, is this like, should I shoot my shot? Like what should I? And then Emily mentioned like, maybe it wouldn't be a good idea because it's someone that you're friends with and you both know.
So here's my take on it.
Let Emily tell you what her take is.
My take specifically on this, and it's coming from a place of when I have friends who do decide to open up their relationship, become polyamorous, or not become, but start pursuing polyamory. Usually,
become is fine too.
What happens is it's like, okay, cool. We're gonna be we have an open marriage now. Let's go hit on all of our friends, and that. It becomes an issue, and it becomes an issue for me because something that I've experienced multiple times is, oh yeah, I have this friend that I'm really like, yay, we're friends. And then they decide we're going to have an open relationship. And then every time it's the dude, it's never the woman. If it was the woman, I would have said yes, but every time it's the dude. And it's always like, oh yeah, we're open. So like, I've always had a crush on you. And I've always thought you were hot. And I'm like, okay, multiple things. It
is 100% about how you approach it, because if Emily and Nate, like, just to like pick you guys, you're right here. If Emily and Nate were to come to me tomorrow and be like, we've been having this conversation and we really love your energy and we love you as a person, and we have been talking about exploring this and we would love to explore it with you, I would be down. Like, I would 100% be like, yes, okay, let's do it. 100%. But if you come at it from a place of sexualizing me and you come at it from a place of commodifying and fetishizing me, I'm going to be like, no. And also I don't want to be your friend anymore. Like, it is 100. If it wasn't Tony Stark who did the snap, Carol Danvers, and that is unimportant. And Carol Danvers would have survived. Fuck everybody else. Anyway, sure. But yeah, like, it is 100% in the way that you approach it. To me, as a person who has like experienced things similar to this, like I have had people as as a femme presenting person with male genitalia, I have been fetishized. I have been commodified. I've commodified myself. Like, girl, like I was a sex worker.
Get that money.
Like, period. But like, when people who are close to me, who I feel safe with, do it, it perverts everything, and I am second guessing every interaction. But when you approach it from a place of, hey, so my partner and I have been having this discussion, and I've been interrogating like our relationship and my feelings for you, and I would like to explore if anything more is there. I'm down for that. But when you're like, hey, you're really hot and I would love to fuck you. Like, no, bye.
All that makes me think is that every fucking time that, like, because for me with
every time you were nice to me, you were trying to get in my pants.
Every time that I came over to hang out with you guys, all you were doing was thinking about getting me naked. Like, every time I've worn a skirt over here, now I feel like I can't come over and hang out. I feel like I can't spend the night or wear a robe over here. Like, it perverts stuff for me when it's a friend.
Just to qualify,
that's a trigger for me.
That's not where that.
I know. That's what I'm saying. It was my trigger.
Joe, go.
So kind of riffing off of the fact that this is sparking from multiple dreams, I will say I 100% relate. Mm-hmm. And it's why I proposed to him.
Yeah.
Because when I was in Japan, like the entire reason why I had to move back was health related. Yeah. Their medical system, though awesome in many, many ways, is very, very restrictive. And so I was not allowed to continue treatments that I can easily get here. And it was very early on in my stay there that I realized I will have to move back. Fuck. And I had a complete breakdown anxiety attack on the phone with him. And he literally, the only person in my life to talk me out of an anxiety attack. That had me in a weird place. And it was a few days later that I had this dream where I was helping out at the dojo I was training at there. And one of my senseis there was talking to me and he's like, oh, who is that over there? And I was like, oh, that's my husband. And it's him teaching our style of martial arts to the children at my dojo out there. And I remember snapping awake and being like, I called him my husband. Now, I think Emily's the only person that understands this about me. Fuck marriage. I have never been someone to be like, yeah, I totally want to get married someday. Yeah, I want to be a blushing bride. That has not ever been me. Like, no. Yeah. I came back and I told people, like, I'm going to propose to him. And they're like, wait, you want to get married? Who is this fellow? What?
Special.
So yeah. And I had similar dreams to that more than once, that like in the dream, I was like, yeah, that's my husband. And he, like, I brought him with me because of like whatever visa I had at the time or whatever work I was doing. I was like, no, he's with me. And everyone was like, okay. And at each time I woke up and I was like, why was I so happy and comfortable with that one thing? Okay. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to think about this mad hard. I'm going to talk to people that I trust. That's you talking to Emily. And mind you, like, my example is extreme, but I feel like for you, it's somewhere similar, that you and Nova are going through something extreme for yourselves, and you're realizing another part of yourself, and that you have this capability within you to care deeply for other people that you already have in your life.
So I think the question that I initially had was, so in my head, the answer to that is, as long as Nova and I are communicating those things to each other, mm-hmm. and we're both on board with that, then it shouldn't be an issue. Like what it is, because
and like it's important to remember, especially because you aren't going to just be seeking physical gratification outside of the union. Like, you are looking to like have that energy in your life, period. Like, you are looking to experience that like as a long-term experience, and you need a deeper connection. It is important to remember that it's like, yes, 100%. I know that you are prioritizing you and Nova, but it is also very important to remember that, especially because you are looking for emotional connection, the other person's feelings are very much important.
Oh yeah, that opens up a whole other area of questions that I'm gonna end up having eventually, which are like, how do I flirt again? Like I haven't been single in 7 fucking years. How do I approach it? But wait, how do I approach it as a married woman? Mm-hmm. How do I go to someone and say, hey, I'm married, but we're polyamorous. Do you want to like hang out with me?
Here's the thing.
How the fuck do you say that?
Here's the thing.
You don't say it like that.
You don't have to say it like that. But here's the thing is that like, I'm literally like, as a polyamorous person, I'm on Bumble and Tinder and like, I'm on dating apps and I don't hide the fact that I'm polyamorous. And in fact, on OkCupid, both me and one of my partners have an OkCupid, and our OkCupids are linked. Like you can literally, like, when you look at my OkCupid, it says partnered with, and like it links to her profile.
Cool.
Because you can, followers only now. I mean, like, it's fine. Like, we can deal with the trolls. Like, we can just excavate.
Yeah, like, take it off of the followers only.
Don't worry about followers.
The moderator.
Like, we're all big girls.
But like, keep deleting the creepy ones. I don't like when they're like, look behind you. It's like fucking weird, dude.
Fuck off, yeah. But anyway, but like, what I was saying was, I would always recommend like dating apps and like communication beyond like being in a bar, because when you're in a bar together, it turns into like you guys buying drinks for somebody and being like, hey, like that's weird.
It's weird.
I just want to say this right now to be clear to Nova too. Like, I am never going to be in a situation where the two of us are gonna want to be with the same person. Yeah. That's never. Yeah, that is a hard pass for me,
and that's fine.
That was my favorite relationship I was in. But I enjoy being adored. Thank you.
But that's just me. Like also Nova and I have very different tastes when it comes to people. So like, I don't think we would ever agree on.
No, because 100%, because like, I don't have like.
Can I rephrase that? Can you rephrase that? I didn't understand. We're never having a threesome.
Oh my God.
And so like
we won't be in a triad.
Yeah, there you go. We won't be in a triad. I'm keeping it clean.
Well, and so like, yeah, like, and like here, like you'll be in a hinge, like you can 100% hinge, but you'd never be in a like true triad where everybody's
I'm just throwing it out there though. If Nova and I ever actually found a real life human being that we both were sexually attracted to, and we both did, I would be shocked because our taste.
No, and like that's what I was about to say is like, so for me, like I 100% do not have intimate knowledge of either of your attraction patterns, but I do get the sense that while you are kind of attracted to androgyny, like you would much prefer if you are dating a, let's say, penis owner, because I don't want to say man, but
you're
like
right.
if you are seeking a penis owner or a masculine presenting person, you are looking for a largely masculine presenting person. Like, I think Nova is kind of outside of your general attraction pattern. And I also think that when you first met Nova, not to say that, and Nova 100%, please tell me to shut the fuck up if I'm wrong. But
love you so much, babe.
I think when you and Nova first started dating and when you and Nova got married, like Nova's understanding of themselves was
we were two completely different people.
Right. Like, and almost. So like Nova, when you guys first got together and when you first got married, and even in like the first several years of your marriage, Nova was presenting more masculine, not necessarily traditionally masculine, but not as feminine as they are necessarily seeking now. And so I think your attraction pattern to penis owners / masculine presenting people is outside of toxic masculinity for sure, but definitely 100% within a comfortable masculine range. Like you would not be attracted to someone who identified as male and presented like I do.
I mean, but you're hella gorgeous.
You're also attracted to women as well, and I think that's more your attraction to Lex.
Is like I present very hyper femininely, so the things that you are attracted to in me aren't male or masculine. You're attracted to me because I present in a very hyper femme way.
That's fair.
At the end of the day, we're all really attracted to women with swords.
Not that you're attracted to me. I don't want to put words in your mouth.
No, listen. You said it earlier. I'm fucking easy. Like I'm a whore. Like I am.
Like, that's the thing is like I think you have an attraction pattern that is, if I am wanting someone to do specific things to me, I want them to present this way. And if I want them to do this to me, I want them to present this way. Whereas Nova is a lot more, but especially because Nova doesn't have the emotional component, because I think you seek out different validation from femmes than you do from mask people. I'm really getting into my like fucking.
No, it's okay but that's true. Because
we should wrap it up in like 10 more minutes though, because let's wrap it up on the phone.
Because I am hetero romantic. That's kind of where I lean.
And so you lean more towards like, I will not say heteronormative, but more of a binary romantic situation.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
So like when you are seeking out a femme, like you are looking for something very specific from that kind of connection, because as I won't say cis, but as an AFAB person, you have a particular experience that you would share with a femme. And as someone who is AFAB but more masculine presenting, when you look for feminine energy, you look for feminine energy. And they don't have to be AFAB, like they don't have to be assigned female at birth, and they do not have to be a cisgendered woman, but they need to be high femme, which I think is I think what you find appealing about me is that like I'm very high femme. Like I have masculine moments, but I'm high femme. And I have an understanding for you, like just talking right here, I have an understanding for you that a masculine presenting person or a cisgendered male wouldn't necessarily have. And so when you're looking for, a masculine partner, you're looking for something very specific. Whereas Nova is a little bit more wherever on the spectrum you fall. If you can meet this, we're good. That was one of the things that was interesting about when Nova and my spectrum is wide. That's very true, because Nova doesn't need emotion to be sexually attracted to people. It's just whatever. If they're sexually attracted to them, it's because that's what they are. Yeah. But Nova does have a type when it comes to the female relationships that they've been in, that to my knowledge, the females that he has been romantic relationships with are very masculine females. No, like literally we had this conversation when I visited you in New York. You told me to stay away from your husband because I'm very femme presenting and he is into femme AMAB people. Like you were like, don't steal my husband. And it's fun. So the girl, a girl that was dating Nova when I met Nova, when we were just casual acquaintances, I thought, just based on outward appearances, that they were a man. Oh. No, I thought they were a man. I cannot remember her name. I wish it doesn't matter. We don't need to name her. We don't have I wish in my head I wanted to remember her name and I can't. But and also because the only thing I knew about Nova when I first met them was that they had made out with Robbie. So I assumed that they were gay, and that then I saw them with this person that they were dating, and I thought that even more because I thought they were a man, and then I found out that it was a woman, and I was like, okay, so then I found out that they were bisexual and that all that's fine. But like
Nova has a very specific type of female that they go for, and I fit that bill because I'm very much a tomboy. Like, I hate that word, but like it's the worst way to describe,
So here's what you are. So here is my impression of you.
The sexual preference scarf.
This is not what you are, if this is not what you identify as, but this is my impression of you. And like, we've talked about this, like, I don't think you're cis. I do not think you're cis. I think you are non-binary, specifically agender, comfortable with she, they pronouns. And I think you are somebody who understands the power that femininity holds for you, especially as a white woman. Like, not to get like hyper political, but white women are the only marginalized group that can weaponize their oppression. They're the only ones that can like put on this little voice of like, I didn't know that what I was doing was wrong, and like, I'm so sorry, and like get the fuck away with it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
white women
hard.
tears.
So like, you recognize the power that femininity holds for you, and sometimes you enjoy femininity, but there are a lot of parts of femininity that are uncomfortable for you, and there are a lot of things in masculinity that you are a lot more comfortable with. All of that said, I adore you, and I adore Nova, and I adore your partnership, and I am invested in helping however I can, if that is being an ear for either of you, if that is helping Nova through their gender experience and their transition experience, should they choose to do that. I'm here for that. And I'm also here for you to help you have a perspective of what Nova is going through, because Nova and I are very similar in as far as like our gender experience. And so there are things that are going to be hard for you to ask them because you don't want to make them feel uncomfortable. You don't want to make them feel like you don't love them or that's in doubt. Eerily similar, they're coming to understand. But like, you don't ever want them to be in doubt of your support of them or your love for them, but you're going to have questions and you're going to have doubts through this. And I am here to talk to you about that as well. As much as I am here for Nova, I'm here for you because I love you guys equally. And I want to help in whatever way I can.
So glad I got you in the divorce.
Oh, Izzy, I love
you guys. And I love
so grateful to have a sibling that even though you're younger than me, I'm learning from you.
And that's gonna happen. Is amazing. Like, I am as far as like politically and socially, I am the smartest of my siblings. And my
sister, Darby, you said that.
She knows that. She has learned from me. She's very open to that. My brother might disagree. But all of that said, this has been wonderful. It's gone on far longer than we thought. Yeah,
I think at the end of the day, like, it all just boils down to
Jalen. No, he said I have to go.
He had work today starting at 8:00, and he did not.
It is absolutely okay.
Nobody is offended. I'm happy he joined us. Like,
that's awesome.
Yeah, I was excited.
And if he would like to join for the podcast discussion, he is welcome to. I'm happy to have him.
Yeah, no, I forgot to tell Emily, he's down for like the GMing talks, all the things, all the stuff. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
We love adding to the Nova family. We're like,
thank you guys. As the host, let me close it out.
Real quick, let's go through and do our tags.
Yes, Nicole, tell me where everyone can find you and how you. Yes, tell me all of this.
So you can find me on Twitter at Nicole the Nerdy. I am also I stream here on the Novi Twitch channel on Mondays and Wednesdays, unless I don't have the spoons, which to be honest, lately I don't. Playing through the Dragon Age series.
For the first time. This is
yeah, I've never played this game before in my life, so it's all a very first time experience. So these are my genuine reactions to things like. So I also am a part of the Legends of Lanamora podcast that Novi Studios produces. It's our flagship podcast. I play Scarlet on there, so you can catch me on our podcast. And that goes, and also Emily and I do a talk show called Dilly and Dally, where we literally just do basically what we're doing now, but we go off into way more.
So much worse.
It's way worse.
We talked for Gilmore Girls for 4 hours.
I think it was more than that, but yeah. And you can find that on our Patreon, which you can find at novistudio.io.
And Emily.
You can find me on most social medias, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram as @neuroticgood. And I'm on Legends of Lanamora. I do Dilly and Dally with Nicole. I also stream Dragon Age. I have played Dragon Age before, but I am specifically on purpose making separate decisions from Nicole so that our endings are completely different. So that is the goal. And sometimes it is very difficult and hard, but you can catch me doing that on Thursdays in the evening. And I think that's all I've got going on. Dope.
Joe.
Yes. So right now you can find me on Instagram at Little Star Girl. That's kind of it. I have plans to do more with Novi later in the year after some insanity in my life calms down. Yeah, I'm helping start a 501c3 nonprofit charity here to help with community outreach and involvement. So that's a little intense, and hopefully I can talk more about that in the future.
Yes, absolutely. I want to hear all about
that. Honey. All right, so let me get into it. Hi, I'm Lex. Thank you guys for coming. I use they, them pronouns. I can be found on Twitter at AUPlatedGarbage. I can be found on TikTok at LexLux. That is LEXLUXE. I am planning on another episode talking about the ways that we can do community outreach and the ways that we can do mutual aid, because those things are very important, especially as marginalized communities have been weaponized against one another. So it's very important for us to talk about those things and debunk them, especially coming from somebody who is of Eastern Band Cherokee descent. There's a lot to go into there, and we'll do it in the podcast.
Yes.
Thank you guys so much for joining.
Thank you.
Have a beautiful night, and always come in good faith to everything you bring to anyone.
Yes. Okay.
Let's be legends.
Let's be legends.